Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Three, two, one. We are live, and we got a lot of random stuff to get to on a Tuesday night. Which, speaking of random, just right away getting this news, within the hour, chat, the Giants they're making moves as we speak. People are in front offices, people are in boardrooms, meeting rooms, on phones, on planes, setting up press conferences. Who knows, chat? But I guess Russell Wilson is headed to the Giants. Will we start off talking about Russell Wilson to the Giants? Probably not, chat. There's NBA stuff going on. The Spurs are playing and I guess they're losing. Okay, anyways, back to Russell Wilson, chat. 1 year with New York, 21 million. It also said here in the headline that it eliminated New York as a potential option this season for Rodgers. So yeah, just the city of New York now. Unfortunately, both teams, they're no longer Rodgers destinations, I guess. I think did Father Time also play into that a little bit? Who knows? I think there's still also a team out there for Aaron Rodgers. There's always a spot. 21 million. I think with the way the salary cap has gone up, I mean that's Fields numbers, right? So both Steelers quarterbacks getting kind of the same amount in the offseason, chat. Weirdly, it like kind of worked in terms of what the individual players were going for, but in terms of what the teams were going for, it didn't work at all. And who knows what that means for the teams that got the quarterbacks in as the free agents, chat. I guess we'll just have to see. But of course, they also had the number 2 pick, and part of the headline, underline, bold, and just highlight as much as you can, chat. 1 year deal, 1 year. So not that Russell Wilson would be any type of long-term option, but shout out to Russell Wilson, I guess. Yikes, chat. We're early on. He still might have not logged out yet, but just with the other veteran options that they were looking at, like you bring in a guy like Stafford, chat, and I know I was seeing on some of the mock stuff on the TV today that on the TV, the on the ESPN over the bars at work, chat, that they were doing some of the mock draft shows, and they did have the Rams messing around with Jackson Dart in the first round. Which speaking of New York in Jackson Dart, it seems like with the Jets that might also there's some rumors building up there as well too, chat. But just the Rams also maybe with Stafford thinking about the future and potential options is also a possibility. But then again, maybe Jackson Dart's a little bit more 2-3 years down the road. And again, if you're a team like New York pursuing a guy like Stafford, you're thinking that you might have a little bit of a window to, compete is one thing, obviously. And could the Giants are, of course, trying to just be a good team. So could you go from a good team with Stafford to being a competitive team in like a Super Bowl, conference championship type of way? That's probably a lot to ask for. But again, to be more competitive division playoffs than what they've been, like you'd at least think you'd have a 2 to 3 year window to be a playoff team. I guess the easier way to say it. You 3 years to be a playoff team and get yourself a replacement, develop a guy. Maybe you still have, with Wilson, of course, number 2 pick. Maybe you still get Shador or Cam Ward or whoever, and you still are able to sit them for longer than maybe you would think originally. But again, with Wilson, it's like very immediate. Where again, with a guy like that, you could take the quarterback, or you could get the skill guy and just continue to develop the team and say we're gonna focus on that good team aspect and then get the quarterback later. It does become an issue though as well too of like you're at the number 2 pick again, a guy like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or any of the Mason Graham. I guess the Giants do have a solid defensive line, but what are you gonna say? Mason Graham next to Dexter. We just saw the Eagles won the Super Bowl. You're gonna tell him not to draft defensive linemen right after watching that game plan? So it's like, okay, maybe your roster all the way around is not where the Eagles is at, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to go all in and continue to build the defensive lines. We'll do the one thing right that the Super Bowl champions did, I guess. And who knows, recipe for the Giants to be a sneaky team, chat? Probably not with Russell Wilson, because again, we saw him with the Steelers last year. And what is the roster upgrade factor from the Steelers to the Giants? I know, again, in terms of perception and in terms of at least, success for where those teams, the Steelers have been at least a 500 team, consistently. And I know the Giants were in the playoffs a couple years ago with Daniel Jones too. Like they've had a couple of winning seasons in there. But in terms of you start drafting guys that you want off of each team, and again, maybe the top end talent can be a little similar. Some of the bottom talent, some of the filling out the rest of the roster. Maybe that's where the separation lies. But again, like with the defensive line that they have, with Neighbors as a major weapon, and their offensive line is objectively worse than Steelers, so that would also be, a separating factor as well too. So Then that would be another thing with that number 2 pick, and maybe there's not the lineman this year at number 2, so maybe you have flexibility to trade as well too if you have a guy like Stafford. Like that's really where the possibilities could open up. Then is you go, we'll trade, we'll get the future assets, and then we'll try to, at least stack the team that way. And then maybe we don't even have to be drafting a number 2 to get the quarterback. Maybe our quarterback at 16 ends up being just fine. Maybe it's like Bo Nix plus in somehow. That works. But speaking of Jackson Dart, chat, Bo Nix minus, we'll just have to see. No, we like Jackson Dart. We're pro Jackson Dart on this pod. So, IT, go ahead and cut that part out. But we just had to say that. But, yeah, Jackson Dart in the first round is still going to be kind of crazy. And I guess there just has to be a third quarterback in the mix, chat. But, again, you watch the highest level of the Jackson Dart plays, and you're like, this guy, he's talented. He definitely can compete. But yeah, the Spurs game is getting out of hand, chat. Unfortunately, the Pistons are up by 20, but the Pistons are a playoff team, so I know there is a little excitement of like, oh, the Detroit, not necessarily a great franchise. Could we get a competitive game with this San Antonio squad? But nope, they are competitive this year. They've got the veterans, they've got the young guys kind of peaking. I mean, even Sasser, pause, chat. Even Sasser is like actually playing really well. He was 4 for 4 to start the game. I don't know since we've logged on if he's managed to miss a shot finally, chat. Yeah, also Diggs going to the Pats as well too. Shout out. Pats continue. Do they still have money left to spend? So getting Drake May some weapons and speaking of drafts, but that's another one. As like you're not going to draft Travis Hunter if that's the best player available because you signed Stephon Diggs. Probably not. Like, you're still going to build your team best player available in that way. But on the court, Sasser, they had to take him out, chat. He's an unfair advantage right now. The refs are like, nope, go to the sideline. 4 for 5. Okay, he missed. He gets one miss in the game, and then the coach has to pull him out. But he was torching us earlier. Bamushvili missed a 3, straight on 3 off the side, so I don't know if we're going to get necessarily the 19-minute, 30-point game that he gave us last time. Champagny not giving us great shots. And Vassell as well, too. I mean, you see the volume is there, chat. He's definitely getting the looks. And I know as, the Spurs just lose all your best players, the expectations for what the team is able to achieve definitely decreases. But for the individual guys, again, going into the offseason, going into the fact... And the fact that, Castle is there as well, too. And Castle seems like a piece in a different type of way, chat, where even with, like, we've always liked the collection of guys that they've had around Wembanyama, and the team that you looked at with the year going into the lottery, thinking, if you put Wembanyama on this team, is that like a fun upside unit? And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of, the wings and the versatility, and it makes a lot of sense as a modern NBA lineup. But there hadn't been a guy yet that has emerged as a second building block in a real way. Again, a lot of really nice pieces and a lot of potential that you really see, but nobody consistently putting it together. And again, Castle's a rookie. Like, I don't know if you could say that he's had, maybe he has, chat. Maybe as a rookie, he's already had better moments of just all-round basketball play than some of the other guys on the team, because you throw the defensive upside in it as well, too. And again, not to say that the guys that they haven't gravitated towards in the draft haven't had two-way upside. But now you look at the roster and you go, okay, we have a couple of building blocks in a real way. And again, Fox is, who knows what level of building block I guess he'll be able to be, chat. Is he a number 2? Is he number 3? Like we've discussed it with Sam, of course. And, I might maybe lean like you still. And again, I think maybe Castle could be that number 2 guy, so it might not matter. Like you get Fox at a good value. And that's just a core of guys that you have now to continue to build the team with. And you're going to have the picks again this year where... who knows if they're able to pick a guy that's more talented than a guy that they have on the roster now. But you also get the advantage of resetting it, of course, in a contract way. So the guys that are on the team right now, some of the younger players that have been on here for a couple of years, chat, are, I think, playing for something a little bit more than just like team wins and necessarily like making the playoffs and a push like that. Because, again, it's about forming that team for the future. And these guys are kind of playing for their spots, chat. So not to say that this team is going to be in a place next year where you need to get super... And you always want to lean toward the continuity as well, too. So maybe it's just, extra pressure to go out there and nail the draft picks wherever they're at and say, hey, I know, best player available might project as some type of thing, but maybe we need to look at guys that give us a more sort of all, and anybody can I guess get into the gym and create off the dribble and definitely develop their game and not necessarily creating off the dribble is the only way to impact a basketball game as like a number 2 option on a team, chat. But maybe it just becomes extra pressure, of course, because like the Thunder with Jalen Williams, he was the 7th pick, of course. Chet as well too, as a main guy on that team, he was the number 2 pick. They ended up trading for Shea, chat, but you just pick guys that you just have to, wherever you pick in the draft, there is always the potential that you pick a star player. I know that's kind of, and of course the top of the draft, the odds, quote unquote, maybe a little bit higher with some of this stuff. But I mean, yeah, of course, Chad, you just go throughout history. There's star players at every level. So again, you look at the board on draft night and go, okay, are there certain guys that we had projected in this way that are off the board? Maybe, but you just have to really do your due diligence with those guys and go the baseline, the upside, and again, just have to be really smart at taking your swings. Not saying it's easy, but we could probably do a version of the draft, like all-time draft picks at each spot. And Jokic was the 42nd pick in the draft. Could we go 1 to 42 and get I could say, almost an all NBA level player? And once you make an all NBA team, are you in the Hall of Fame, chat? Maybe, but at least a guy that rose to that. There's, hovering around that. I would say at least for every pick in the first round. And, on a technical basis, it's like, okay, pick 17 is maybe lacking a little bit. Like nobody made an all NBA team, but then I'm sure pick 15, Giannis was maybe 13. Was Paul George 15? Kawhi was 11, chat. Klay Thompson maybe was also 11. So then you would get maybe some of those mid-teen picks that kind of double up. So you look at the same range, and get the same amount of star players and all-stars and I guess we could go through it and say the number 1 picks. Maybe you have, more better, like if we were building the all-time teams on the other end of it and saying like, yeah, the higher end talent of like the number 1 overall picks is going to be better. Like, you're going to get LeBron, you're going to get Magic, you're going to get Tim Duncan as a top 3, Bird, of course, and you're going to get Hakeem as well too as a number 1 overall pick. So I mean that 4-man lineup, chat, is, who's taken down LeBron, Magic, Hakeem, and Duncan? I guess, again, as an individual pick as well. Like, and Steph was the number 6 pick, so you'd have to go through 6 picks in NBA history. But then again, see, there's like 3 of the greatest players of all time. You get 1 at 1, 1 at 3, 1 at 6. Of course, you just keep going down the list, and you just have all your guys, chat. Ginobili for, maybe different reasons. He was picked in the 50s. And there used to be a time in the NBA where they had like 10 rounds. So there's even some star players where you're like, wait a second, I don't know if anybody made the Hall of Fame as like the 150th pick in the draft. There might have been, I'm not ruling it out. But there was definitely some good players where you look back and you're like, wait a second, they had 243 picks in the NBA draft back in the day. And they were just really adding talent to the league. You got to bulk up, chat. It was bulking season for the league in the 70s and the 80s, and they were definitely drafting very, very heavy. But yeah, again, there's looks, there's shots to go around, and they do have, of course, Barnes and Paul and Biyombo as some veterans to fill out the lineup, chat. But it is mostly the team that they've kind of assembled over the last couple of years, chat. Yeah, again, with the exceptions of 2 of their most talented players being out. And not to say that the team that they had assembled was, a 4 seed in the playoffs. It was still going to be what range in the play-in are they going to be in? Are we going to get home court in the play-in? Was basically the upside. And then could we win those games as well too? But no Cade tonight for Detroit, chat. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Asor getting to the, and again, the rim protection, all this stuff. Like Biyombo's not going to cover defensively the way that Wemby does, even if there's some offensive-y pick and roll type stuff. 60 to 34, you put up 34 in the first half. That is tough. How many second quarter points did we have? Oh, I guess 3. 12 second quarter points. Yikes, chat. Yikes. Is that lowest scoring quarter of the season? It's definitely in contention. There's not going to be a lot more than that. And again, speaking of the veterans, Barnes 1 for 7. It seems like even in some games where some of the younger guys aren't giving you the numbers, Barnes, you'll be like, wait a second, Barnes was just 4 for 5 from 3 in that game and kind of keeping us, in the teens. At least we're covering with Barnes hitting threes. Castle 0 for 7 as well, too. Tough, chat. Must have been a fun night in Detroit last night, I guess, for the San Antonio team. But really the primetime game is not Detroit versus San Antonio. And Dallas versus the Knicks, chat. Remember when this used to be Luka versus Brunson? There used to be storylines here. But now it's, I guess, different types of storylines. Is Davis playing tonight? Just a question that you hate to ask, I guess, if you're a Mavs fan. Oh, it doesn't look like it, chat. It doesn't look like it. Did he go back down with an injury? I just legitimately don't know. I don't know, and it's unfortunate. I know we defended the guy's legacy as a player when he was traded, and I know that you have to be fair with the basketball moves in the moment as well, too, with building teams going forward. But it's like, okay, well, Davis is a top 70 guy of all time, and you see him out there still, chat. He's still cooking, and there's even, I don't want to say that this is a better version of Davis than him on the Lakers, but he is, of course, getting a little bit of different looks. And is it crazy to say that this Mavs, I don't know if the Mavs team has better spacing, but they play with better spacing than the Lakers, if that makes sense. Their offense has been that 5-out offense surrounding Luka Doncic his entire time. Again, Doncic is a perimeter player, attacking pick and roll, going downhill, but they've been focused on surrounding the team with shooters. And as I'm sure maybe Nico Harrison a little too into the stats sometimes as well, gravitating toward these 3-and-D, this really 3-and-D heavy type stuff. And now that, of course, you're building it around an interior guy like Davis, you still have that stuff where, again, like maybe toward the end there of the Lakers run, like you get Hachimura as a really solid starter, and there, of course, Reeves is really emerging. And then we've seen the LeBron three-point shooting over the last couple of years, be really, really strong. But I don't know, those guys are always kind of slash and kick guys as well, too, and LeBron is playing around the basket. And again, not that it was a bad fit. Like, I think there's a peak version of that team that has a lot more plays. And again, with the way they were matched up against the Nuggets there and with how close those matchups were, I know the sweeps, chat, but you got to go back and look at the games. And then if you go back and watch, there's going to be a Hardwood Classic run of those games as well, too. And that maybe a documentary. Of course, there's going to be a documentary about the LeBron Lakers run at some point. Maybe this summer, chat. Who knows what Spring Hill's up to. But if there's a way to somehow, be biased toward the Lakers and show that favorably, it's like, don't give the Nuggets any credit. The Lakers were close, chat. Jamal Murray was just somehow out for revenge against Los Angeles and just hit every shot every time a defender was just all over him. And Davis, even in the last playoffs as well, too, there was times where you're just like, there's nothing Davis can do, man. Murray is just on a different level with some of the shots that he's making and having the, he's one of those just great playoff heat check players. And of course it won the Nuggets title one of these seasons, and we'll see if he's able to do it again. But with some of the spacing and the way with the way Davis can operate in the paint and look for his shots a little bit more, it is fun to watch him, chat. And the other night he was out there against Brooklyn as well, too, which, make no mistake, if he's going to cook a team's interior, chat, it might be Brooklyn. He might have a little bit of a mismatch advantage there. But even going back to that Rockets game, just the flashes of Davis when they've been out there. It's been, is it a title team? It is. And at the end of the day, even if he is back for the playoffs now, like Irving is hurt. Irving is hurt. Did we say his name right there, Chet? Yeah. Kyrie went down. Pause. So this team was already walking a thin line with the depth anyways, even if their team was fully healthy. So now even one of their major star players like Kyrie out, and not to say that they couldn't continue to be a feisty playoff team without Kyrie and replace the Kyrie numbers in some way, but the upside of the team, of course, definitely becomes a little bit more limited when you lose a star player like that, Chad. But it doesn't matter. Neither of them are out there tonight, and they're still competing. Najee Marshall, every couple of weeks, Chad, he'll just have a big offensive performance. So maybe he'll go for 25-30 tonight. Hopefully you guys all bet the Najee Marshall overs. Or maybe he'll have the classic 2 points in the second half and then be like, oh yeah, that was just a normal Najee Marshall 15-point game or something like that, chat. But Bridges with 4. Obi Anunoby. Is that a Jedi, chat? OG Anunoby. Karl Anthony Towns with 12. Anunoby with 10 points. I guess we should mention 10 shots. 10 points, 10 shots. Yikes, chat. But Miami, Jimmy Butler returns. That game is currently going on in the background right now as well, too. And Miami's leading, chat, as you guys can see, 35-27. And no Steph Curry, I believe, tonight as well, too. I know he was questionable going into the game, but it is, yeah, no Steph tonight. Still dealing with that injury he had from the other day. So you do get Jimmy Butler actually leading the Warriors in this game as their best player. I guess, are we going to give Draymond Kuminga off the bench? Working him back in as well, too. Pods, I guess Pods could be a sleeper for best player of the game. But, best player on the team. Obviously not. Quentin Post in the mix for best player on the team. 1 for 5, though, tonight, Chad. When he's out there and he's making his threes, he's kind of impactful. They kind of need him right now. But, for the season, the expectations for Jimmy Butler are different because in this type of revenge game, it is, especially, you get a star player like this leading your team. But it's just the expectations of what the trade is for each franchise is usually a little bit different because Jimmy Butler, of course, was a star player on the Heat. And I know the Heat culture thing is, a little bit, it kind of goes with their stars as well, too. As much as it does with some of their role guys, which it's like next man up. Okay, well, now Tyler Hero has to score, take a little bit more of the scoring, and Wiggins and Bam, and the team will just kind of elevate around and, kind of fill in the gaps. Khalil Ware getting some more minutes, not maybe adding the scoring, but now he's elevated into a role where you have another contributor out there. And, I mean, yeah, chat, you see they're not even playing with the full lineup tonight as well, too. But it's Heat culture, so the bench is still Haywood Highsmith, Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell as your 8th guy, in a regular season game. He gives Alec Burks in. But Alec Burks is in your starting lineup. I mean, as much as we can clown on him, Chad, I feel like Alex Burks has had more good games than bad games in his NBA career. I feel you turn on these games and he's just canning these mid-range 15-foot jump shots. Just with pretty decent efficiency, it seems like. But, yeah, again, you would normally, of course, be trading like your franchise player to another team in a franchise player-y type of way where, they're showing Phoenix Suns highlights right now at halftime. Booker hitting a clutch shot, of course, against the Bucks the other night in the late night on ESPN. But, like even trading Durant to a team like the Suns where the Suns are, quote unquote, well, they're not quote unquote Booker's team. At the time, of course, they are Booker's team. Booker's franchise. He's been the franchise guy there. And you can make a case that even with Durant, like there could be moments. I mean, we were on the pod talking about like, hey, I mean, Booker could win the league MVP potentially with Durant on this team. And it's like, oh, Booker playing. Because I thought there was a world where, Durant, I think it's tough to go back and say like who's better, who played better between Steph and Durant back in that run. But of course, Steph was able to let Durant elevate. But for Durant to be at a little bit farther along in his career and then for him to maybe need a teammate to step up in a different way with Booker, I just thought it would have been a fun dynamic to see. Of course, the playoff thing and then the depth of the team, and for what we're seeing this year, we're just never going to get to see it on that stage, Chad. But, even you trade a guy like Durant as a best player to Phoenix, and maybe he doesn't take over the franchise guy aspect of it. But, again, he moves into that role as the best player, still kind of on the team. But Jimmy Butler, I mean, again, for Golden State, this role has been very established. The franchise guy, obviously, Steph is the franchise, but Steph is still, very clearly the best player. And has there ever been a point, where Jimmy Butler was equal to Steph in that kind of way, Chad? I know with some of the playoff stuff, there's like maybe in-game moments where you're like, hey, is Jimmy Butler, a gamer? Will he get you the win maybe in similar efficiency time? I mean, 2 finals appearances, obviously he wasn't able to get the finals wins, unfortunately, but able to take the team to the finals twice as the best player, which, we'll be talking about Dwight Howard in a second, chat. The Magic inducted him into the Hall of Fame, so stay tuned for that, for revisiting Dwight Howard's career. But, you think about what that accomplishment was to the Heat franchise. How many guys, Wade taking the team to the finals as the best player. And again, Wade actually won a final, so there's a different solidification that he's going to have as the franchise, but as the season to season and sort of the playoff to playoff efficiency that he was able to provide with the team, like he kind of had maybe 1.5 finals appearances as the best player, if we want to kind of give him and LeBron equal best player share for that 2011 finals appearance. And then LeBron also, I guess if we're just chalking up appearances, they made the finals every year he was with the Heat, so those 4 years. So he would if we're giving him a half season for the first season, he's at like 3.5 for the best. So of course, LeBron's near the best player for every franchise that he's played for. The Lakers, there'd be different reasons for why he wouldn't be. If we're talking best players to ever play in a Lakers uniform, then it's a different thing. But obviously for where he was at when he went to for where he was at in his career when he went to the Lakers, it's a little bit of a different dynamic. But again, even Butler, like the teams that he had around him compared to LeBron, and not to say that LeBron underachieved in Miami in any sort of way. I mean, they won 2 finals, but the 2011 one was it is what it is, chat. And I just, you never want to say like who doesn't have those moments, because again, like LeBron has all of these top moments for the NBA careers, so those are the moments that you should be looking at. So again, it's not like a Jimmy Butler versus LeBron comparison, chat, but it's just to say that what he was able to accomplish in those appearances was special in terms of the Heat franchise as well. So you're trading kind of a significant player, kind of a impactful player still right now as well too in the league. Big Sean night for Pistons Spurs? I didn't even realize that, chat. Hey, shout out Big Sean. I guess, man, I wish I would have realized. Well, I guess we don't want to. Do we want to give Big Sean props because his Pistons have almost doubled up the Spurs at halftime? I don't know, chat. But if we would have known, it would have been, if we had done our research and known it would have been Big Sean night going into the game, maybe we would have been bumping a little Big Sean in the gym, chat. It is what it is. We need to maybe revisit the Big Sean discography a little more than we do, chat. 18.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Okay. The man is chilling. There's definitely, of course, some very successful features that are probably hopeless to know the score, but that's all part of the game, chat. That's all part of it. So, of course, I was blanking on the album, chat, the iconic album, Dark Side Paradise. Forgive me, Big Sean, but again, your team's just killing the Spurs right now, so maybe we're not totally, locked in on the Big Sean discography. But shout out, Better Me Than You, the album that he released in 2024. I liked it. I thought it was good. There's a lot of quality on here. Let me see what songs I resaved into my... Oh, well, chat, I guess I've been revisiting the album as a whole instead of saving individual songs, because it's been just maybe like 1 or 2 of the singles. But those were all really fantastic. And again, as a full project, it's really cohesive. It's really soulful. Big Sean, I think he's underrated at this point for how good of a rapper he is. Because, what album is this for him? And I don't, sorry for not knowing exactly what's an album and what's a mixtape on here for the Big Sean. Again, I'll lock in the future, chat. But with the Pistons will be in the playoffs, so there'll be more time to dive into the Big Sean discography here in a little bit. But of course, the first release, he's been in the game, of course, a decade plus, 15 years plus. With of course, him being in the younger generation with Kendrick and Cole and Drake and all those guys. Of course, the Control verse being an iconic moment in the younger generation, and for him to, be this far along in his career, like his skills as a MC are, really developed. And I, again, would have to revisit his discography to go say, is there more energetic performances? Is there maybe just better writing in general over the course of another album? Do we have to go back and freshen up on Dark Side Paradise, chat? Maybe we do. We definitely have to. Why not? But maybe you get kind of a, it's not necessarily Steph in the 22 finals, chat. Whatever the version of, maybe going back to Booker, kind of where, I guess this is not the best version of Devin Booker that we've ever seen, but I'm projecting a little we trade Devin Booker to a team, or we get Devin Booker in a reset scenario with Phoenix, because I guess Matt Ishbia is just going to keep him in purgatory in the Suns. But, in a reset scenario with some new faces and a new situation, maybe we get to see better versions. Maybe like Karl Towns, chat? Carl Towns. Again, Carl Towns like might make all NBA. I don't. Did we have Big Sean in our all albums team from last year? Chat, go check it out if you haven't. IT will have to pull up the list. I don't remember. I remember Don Tolliver, Big X the Plug, Dochi, Kendrick, Tyler. I mean, Future, of course, a lot of names. Corday, I think a lot of Corday sneaky getting on there. The Crossroads chat, another one. If you haven't been checking out the Crossroads, and I mean just the Corday discography in general, make sure you guys are listening to that. But since again the focus is on Big Sean, do we need to go to a Hornets game? Is it going to be Corday night at a Hornets game? Shout out, that'd be crazy. Hornets down at half to the Magic, so maybe save it for a game that they're winning. Or maybe if it was Corday night, they'd be extra motivated. LaMelo, he'd be like, oh, I got to show up for the guy. I guess, are we projecting him as a Hornets fan? I guess he's from Maryland, not technically Charlotte, right? I guess I'm just thinking of him in that Dreamville scene, and he's not even like a Dreamville guy, but as a Maryland guy, who knows? I guess he would be invested in the Sweet 16 maybe if he's rooting for the school. But either way, Corday, call in. Tell us what teams you're invested in, and maybe we'll start championing the idea of one of these teams having a Corday night. Because I mean, Big Sean, I guess again, Big Sean's got maybe a few more radio hits at this point, and again, a few more albums. Been in the game a little bit longer, a little more established as a full artist. Established, however you want to phrase that, but. Again, Better Me Than You. I don't know if they're playing this album at the arena. Probably not, would be my guess. But a lot of fun songs on that. You'll just have to go through it and see which ones you think you're liking. But yeah, without Steph, Golden State down. What do we got? 29-43 on the Sling stream. We got 31-46 on the ESPN feed. So all the same, chat. All the same. Khalil Ware foul. Did I still say that right? I don't even know. Khalil Ware fouls. Jesus, chat. Maybe I just won't be able to get it out. Pause. Hey, yo! But maybe that'll give us time to catch up as well, too, on the stream. But, hey, yo, that was also wild. But either way, again, to say that Jimmy Butler, like, the established hierarchy is definitely there in Golden State. And Steph is the number one, and Butler is the number two. So, like, the expectations for how, again, both sides kind of win the trade. I was also thinking about that today. It's kind of different where, yeah, I think you still would, like you're trading Durant to Phoenix. Even if you're trading Durant to Phoenix as a player in an elevated role, you're still hoping it elevates the team, maybe in a similar fashion. Like, yeah, Steph is still the number one. We're bringing in maybe a guy that can, not sidekick is not the right term, but again, we get it, chat, where Steph is in sort of the hierarchy of all this stuff. He needs that other star player next to him to help push this team over the top. And that's, again, what it is. It's the playoff success, but I don't know what the Jimmy Butler piece of it, how impactful he needs to be for that to be. And I guess, again, in that number two role, sort of where Klay Thompson has been in the last couple of years. But, again, like we've actually seen, and it's not to say that, I guess Klay Thompson taking the team to the finals. I think he could have done it, chat, to be honest. Ray Allen, could Klay Thompson not have been early 2000s Ray Allen if he had his own team? I kind of think he could have been, but Jimmy Butler, we did actually see go to the finals 2 times. So there is a sort of maybe taker, and again, you say takeover element. Klay at the end of some of these games, of course, is taking over as much as anybody, but the way that Butler can sort of run an offense and maybe set guys up as well, too, is the main thing, where you would still maybe Klay would be relying a little bit more on some of the flow of some of the offenses, and he would still probably have the off the dribble stuff. I'm sure he's in the gym working on that. He's like, I got the contract, I got the role. Like, he's a very competitive guy that would want to prove himself. I'm sure he'd be working on that part of the game. And there's panning to a Spurs fan in the crowd chat. Looks like he's sitting next to William H. Macy, but I don't think that's him. I don't think he's a Spurs fan. But IT, get a Google Lens search on that guy's hat. It looks like it's one of those Mitchell and Ness hats. I mean, we don't have our hat in the studio right now, chat. I guess we were wearing it. It's been in rotation. But, yeah, we've got the Mitchell and Ness collection. It's getting a little thin because over the years, one of them got lost in a plane. They just get worn out as well, too. Over time, I know you try to keep as good a care of them as you can, chat. But we're going to have to restock. And there's always new ones that you're seeing. Of course. That's the point, right? Got to get us to buy the new ones. But, yeah, and for Miami, of course, they don't do the full franchise reset as well, too. So both teams kind of, there is that, of course, understanding of. I mean, and that was part of the reason of finding a Jimmy Butler trade that made sense for everybody. But you still get, Wiggins and a couple of pieces back. I don't even remember what fully that trade was, Chad, outside of Wiggins. I mean, it is just, of course, an interesting trade as well for Wiggins for Butler. Again, just considering where you're, and it's always in the moment as well, too, where you're at with Butler. We're kind of thinking Jimmy Butler, his full career. And you think where he was at with the team at that point, obviously he was never going to play again. But that was also, like, can you rewind the clock a couple of months and just try to reset the timeline back then? And maybe he's on the team still. Like, it still seems like it all moved quick enough that, it wasn't impossible to see him there. Or to say that it was like, I guess, it was totally dumb. But anyways. And it was a 5-teamer as well, too. KJ Martin to the Jazz. Schroeder, Waters. Second-round pick to the Pistons. Anderson and Wiggins both to the Heat. And then Miami traded Cash and a 2026 pick to the Raptors. Heat traded Cash and Josh Richardson to the Jazz. The Raptors traded Mitchell to the Heat. The Jazz traded PJ Tucker. And also received multiple trade exceptions protected. 21 first is Golden State's own. Utah also received a trade exception, chat. Make sure you get that note in there. But, yeah, wait. So, the Pistons had... Where was KJ Martin even at originally, chat? Yeah, that's right. He was on the Pistons. So, the Heat gave up just Jimmy Butler and Josh Richardson and Cash, essentially. That's not bad at all, chat. I guess we need to go to the SPO track and get a better breakdown. Of course, the Basketball Reference trade always just breaks your brain. I think they do this intentionally. They just write it out like this because they're like, if you're a real fan, this separates the men from the boys, chat. If you guys can decipher a Basketball Reference 5-team trade page like this. But yeah, either way, you get back Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and 1 first. Is that what it was? So the first is protected. So we need to go to Tankathon and double check the protections on that pick. So maybe, who knows what the future of Wiggins is on this team. So with that's not Miami's. So yeah, it's sitting at 21 right now. Miami's own pick is lottery protected as well. Is that going to OKC? Of course it is, chat. It's going to OKC. Who even knows there's not even a trade here that like mentions. I think just one night Pat Riley got drunk and just promised the 2025 first round to Sam Presti in like a gambling match, and Presti's like done, and then Presti just the blackjack hit me, bam. Now all of a sudden the OKC have the Heat first round pick. We have no idea how Presti got all these picks, Chad. We legitimately have no idea. It makes no sense. But yeah, once again, you log into a pick page and you find out Sam Presti is keeping a team tanking. Sam Presti is why the league needs to figure out tanking, Chad. Everybody's got a tank, so Sam Presti doesn't have their pick. The league wants to fix tanking. Get Sam Presti out of the league because he keeps trading for everybody's picks, and they got to be bad. Try to protect these picks, but yeah, Miami again. We've talked about him. A sneaky Cooper Flag team. So I guess we'll bring it up again, Chad. A sneaky Cooper Flag team. I think Miami is hot in the mix right now. Of course, they keep winning games. If they stay top 8, for some reason that 8 just seems like it's that prime range where it seems like a lower season for Miami, but they're still not really like a full-on bad team, but also not too high up the list, I think, to be jumping up to number 1 as well, too. Like, once you're, I think, 10 to 14, like, that is a pretty aggressive leap, Chad. So, you got Portland, Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix, Sacramento. So, did Simmons say Dallas is going to get Cooper Flag? He might have floated that out there. And maybe there is if Dallas was top 8, you know what? I would say that it would be a coin flip toss in the karma rank. And maybe Miami Heat culture would be the thing. Nico Harrison versus Pat Riley. Who does the league want to get Cooper Flag? What GM do they want to send Cooper Flag with, I guess, would be the question. But then you have the Rockets with Phoenix pick and Atlanta, of course, with Sacramento's pick at 14. Like, if the Rockets got Cooper Flag, like, that would just be kind of gross, Chad. Not to say that a Cooper Flag in Houston and on that team would be fun. But them being at 13, like they have a ton of fun talent. Amen Thompson seems like he could probably be an all NBA level player at some point. And again, they have maybe some sneaky all-star, just fun role guy potential. I guess, sneaky all-star. There's, we kind of know who some of the guys are at this point. Like, is Jalen Green going to... I guess Jalen Green would be the sneaky all-star that I'd be thinking of at that point. I guess Sengun as well, too. Was Sengun been an all-star? I even forget, Chad. But was he injury replacement this year? Again, the all-star game was not necessarily something that we're going to be saving. We're filing away space in the brain for, Chad. But yeah, one all-star, so he did make an appearance this year with 19 a game. Of course, the Rockets were a much superior team in the West at that point, and him being a better player in that team definitely helped. But a couple of they just have a fun team established already, so there's no need for them to be jumping up 13 spots to land Cooper Flag. Maybe they jump up top 3. It'd be still pretty aggressive. Be like, well, you got Reed Shepherd last year, and now all of a sudden we're just going to get you a top 4 pick again. I guess because you jump up into the top 4, right? But you jump up into that top 4 again, seems a little bit like an immediate... Is that the New Orleans, Cleveland, just immediate redo of a pick? Not to say that they need to redo Reed Shepherd in any sort of way. Pause! But, yeah, Miami, that just seems to be... Again, San Antonio's at 9. I feel like that's the cutoff. Maybe it's the San Antonio franchise line with Wembanyama. Like, if we flipped Portland and San Antonio... But even Portland, like, they're just a feisty team. They've got a lot of... Not necessarily a star player, so maybe that's a Cooper Flag case. But maybe Portland, I could see them jumping back up into the top 4 again. It's like, sorry, you can't have the star, but... Ace Bailey, I guess, the star name guy anyways. Not to say that, Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper, whoever couldn't be. Again, like we were saying earlier, chat, the best player in the draft could it could be any player. That's where I'm at this point with the draft. But, of course, you still got to do a ranking just because you got it, but chat. But, yeah, that could be a fun land one of the other guys' teams. But, of course, Miami could definitely be in that Cooper Flag mix. But... Again, it's like if they don't get Cooper Flag, if they draft from that 8th pick, get another solid guy. The way they drafted Hawkes the last couple of years, Ware as well. Like they've been able to get guys that seem like above average role players as a light way to put it. Like all stars. Hawkes is going to be an all star. Speaking of Sengun, like I don't know if he's an all star, but is he a 17, 18 point? And once you get in that range, I guess. You're in the mix. I guess Hawkins could be like a 17, 8, and 4 type of guy. So maybe if Miami's really winning and he's hitting clutch shots, like maybe that is, but then I guess because Sengun's not sneaky all-star potential. So Hawkins is like officially sneaky all-star potential at this point. Of course, Hero, we've kind of thought, could he be in that mix? Of course, Bam as well too, Wiggins. So, they could still immediately just establish guys and just be a 7 seed next year with the team that they have. And I think for regular season anyways with what they had with Jimmy Butler, but then again you go to the playoffs with Butler and the expectations immediately rise because that's where he thrives, Chad, and that's where he becomes a guy that we talked about as a potential top 10 player in the league with his playoff impact and him taking these teams to the finals and the way he was just able to take kind of over and do everything as well too, but then also have moments of, hey, the other guys in the team. It just felt like he could. I mean, again, at times, some of the last couple of the seasons where they weren't necessarily making playoff runs, it felt like there was moments, and Butler injuries as well too, but moments where Butler maybe it's like he's not feeling the game totally right. Can he take over a little bit more? But his ability to balance the star player and the ability to let the other guys, let Caleb Martin succeed in the Eastern Conference Finals is also a part of the reason that made him special as well too, chap. But again, you just don't see like a guy that is so clearly like a franchise guy like that, like Butler, get traded to not be a franchise guy. Not to say that, again, that's a stage of his career thing as well too, a little bit, but he is still a guy that you're thinking can be that impactful and has still showed some of the impact as well too in Golden State. So tonight maybe a performance that not helping that case, chat, as he is 1 for 6, and maybe it is just like, oh yeah, this is why the value is what it was. Of course it was turned at that point. But he does get a chance to lead his team for revenge here, if anything. And you're working, Kuminga, of course. Can we do like a little pre-post injury chat with Kuminga real fast? Because he feels like that just, feels like unfortunate timing for, not that there's ever a fortunate timing for an injury, but where he's always a guy where it's like, is Kuminga always just about to break out, chat, and just always about to emerge as a performer? But yeah, look at this run here right before he got hurt. He missed a couple of games. They're not like winning a ton, obviously. But 17 game stretch, they were 6-11. Whoa, is that a new feature? Basketball Reference? I feel like they haven't always had the results there on the filter chat. Whoa, big moves. Basketball Reference, shout out. Got to give it props to IT and Basketball Reference. Don't worry, IT. We're not cheating on you. We're just, you got to just give credit where credit is due. But he was 46%, 37% from the field, 19 a game, basically 20 points a game in that stretch as an efficient shooter. And that's, again, 17 a game. Maybe it's not necessarily translating to wins. 65% from the free throw line is still pretty concerning, but he's getting there 6 times a game as well, too. He's not necessarily scared of taking free throws. He's still, being aggressive and not necessarily shying away from contact and stuff like that. But since working him back in here, chat, let's see. 42% from the field, 14% from 3, 14 points a game. Again, who knows what he'll be like the rest of this year, unfortunately, with the injury. But how he was just kind of starting to find his groove there. And then you think about, again, the way this team has played, of course, before, and they really started turning the corner like right before the Butler trade. They had like 2 good games, and then the Butler trade happened, and then, they really take off on a win streak in February there. But you can see they start to get more consistent with the wins, of course, in January. And maybe Kuminga is a big part of that. But I think Steph as well, too, as we know, if he turned the corner a little bit and really stepped up his performance and was like, oh, Steph is back to being like a top-notch guy. So if you get Steph as he continues to level up his game in season, along with Kuminga being awesome, and then maybe you still do make the Butler trade as well, too. Again, you're giving up Wiggins. Like, you're not giving up Kuminga in that trade. So maybe those core guys you're just able to mesh together a little bit better. And maybe, again, you're getting a peak version of Kuminga at this point in this season. So that, for the Warriors team as a whole, but just for his fit on this team, where you look at the offseason maybe for whatever happens in the playoffs and you go, what moves do we need to make? Oh, Jonathan Kuminga seems like a nice little trade asset. We maybe get a couple of picks back for him or something. Or player work him into a deal in some kind of way to continue to upgrade the roster. But again, I just think if he was able to be on this team as it's turning the corner in the season, it would have definitely helped. And with what they've invested in him in the past, I don't think they're going to make like a rash decision necessarily. And I guess I don't know where he's at in the contract cycle as well, too. Because that's where things could definitely get tricky as well, chat. If you have to make a decision on whether or not, of course, you're going to give this guy, anytime you got to give a guy a raise, chat, it's where the bosses are always going to start questioning their decisions. But, of course, when you're working with the salary cap, it's a little bit of a different story. Oh! We've got him on an expiring deal, chat. Yikes. Another reason it's very unfortunate timing. I was looking for an extension. I was trying to recall any news. So, tough, chat. Tough. We'll just have to hope that maybe the playoffs and the end of the season stretch here as well, too. It's a weird time with the teams that you're going to be playing against and who's going to be out there night to night. Maybe there's some easier opponents where you're able to kind of work yourself back into a rhythm in a real way. But going into halftime here, chat, 30 seconds. Miami currently up 14. In Miami, just Jimmy Butler's back in town. They had to make him jealous in every way possible. The Miami Vice uniforms, the Miami Vice court. I mean, how do you leave Miami? I know Heat culture in the basketball situation, but the colorways? The way you're going to just look in these Instagram posts? The shoe designs you can have to match your jersey. I mean, there's just infinite reasons why the Miami Vice color scheme is the best. And I don't know. I guess I would be in favor of trying to switch it over to that. But then again, do you lose some of the special aspect? Is it like a special occasion type thing? Only busted out for special occasions. Pause. But, it hits different, when you only get to see it every now and then. But Miami's also got kind of a tougher, just normal jersey kit in general. To borrow a soccer term, hero at the buzzer to put the Heat up 17. And maybe we need to do a hero stat, because we were talking with the guy at work about were we talking about first team all white guys for the NBA? I think we might have been. Cooper Flag. Everybody's picked Duke to win their brackets, so the Cooper Flag conversation just kind of naturally wonders there. Oh, I thought we had notifications turned off, chat, but apparently Bucky Brooks lands an Alabama prospect in his newest mock draft to the Colts. So I'm curious, chat. Alabama prospect. Am I blanking? Defensive lineman that we need? But let's see. I guess, defensive backs as well, too. As we bulked up a little bit in free agency. Last 10 for Hero. And I guess the Heat, of course, have been on a losing streak. There was that little run. Where did we go? Before he missed this game here. He had a couple of 40-pointers and a 30-point in here as well, too. So that's definitely going to bring up the averages. 25 a game. 42%, 28. So he was just jacking up shots. Pause. Yikes. He was saying, the guy we were talking to was saying that Reeves was right now best white player in the league, which I think is pretty fair. Chat, am I forgetting somebody else pretty obvious? Again, Cooper Flag's not there yet. I guess Chet, maybe? We should have brought up Chet. Yikes. That's a miss. We were thinking mostly guards, though. And was he saying connect? Keep an eye. First team all white guy? I mean, he's definitely first team all white guy watch list. I don't know what the odds of him getting. And then again, first team all white guy is a different thing. Where now the first team positions, we can vote whatever we want. We don't have to have a center on first team all white guy. So we can have 5 guards if we want to. If Dalton Connect is the 5th best guard in the league, white guard in the league, which is also the 5th best white player, then I guess he can make the team, chat. I guess it makes total sense. But, yeah, Flag, Chet, Reeves, Hero? That's not a bad lineup, chat. And again, we're going the American route. Of course, if we're going international, that's its own team, right? And I guess, if we really, how much do we want to segregate this out, chat? Yikes, whoa! But if we had like a American team versus a white international versus a white American, yikes, are we getting kind of sketchy there? But yeah, if we were just had to leave Jokic and Doncic and the other, Europeans off the team, the other Euros, there's no Argentinians like Ginobili hanging around. But or Luis Scola. Would Luis Scola have been a first team all white guy at one point? Again, if we're talking the international thing, then it wouldn't matter. Would he have been first team all white guy international? Who knows? But first team all white American, Flag, Chet, Reeves, and Hero. I mean, those 4 guys alone, that's a playoff team, chat. That is a playoff team. This might be the first time in a long time once Cooper Flag enters, of course, a lot of hope on Cooper Flag, chat. It might be the first time in a while that first team all white guy American could be a playoff team. That would be a real achievement. Has that happened in the 20th century, 21st century? At the 20th century, go back a ways. Maybe there was a time, chat. There was a time when first team all NBA was white guys, but in the modern NBA, I don't know, the 90s? First team all white American guy in the 90s? I guess Bird, going back to Bird in the 80s. Now we have a building block, chat. Now we have a franchise player that we can really build around, but I'm trying to even think, like, I don't know why the first white guy name that comes to mind in the 80s is Tom Chambers, but we were also just, we had the aura rankings a couple weeks ago. Tom Chambers was in our NBA aura rankings, so I'm thinking Drazen Petrovic, of course, Dirk, 2000s, but again, those guys lean international. So Kukoc would have been another international guy. Steve Kerr and Mark Price. I don't know what's a better back. I mean, obviously the legacy of Steve Kerr, Mark Price. Steve Kerr as a winner in the NBA. Mark Price was able to get to some All-Stars and All-NBAs and stuff. Like Reeves hasn't quite locked those in yet, chat. Was Mark Price All-NBAs? 4 times. I mean, Mark Price is borderline Hall of Famer, chat. He's close. You're going to go peak Mark Price years right here? He's near 17 a game. Of course, 90% from 3. Early, great, white three-point shooting guard, chat. At over 40% nearly every year. Of course, early 50, 40, 90 guy as well, too. Yeah, 88, 89, chat. 52, 44, 90. 2.8 3-point attempts per game, but still. And the next season, is 40% on 5 attempts a game. So, I mean, he's a good three-point shooter. He would have been a good three-point shooter now. But those peak years, chat, for Mark Price, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. 17.5 a game, 48% from the field, 41% from 3, and 91% from the line. So, yeah, I mean, a one-on-one Mark Price versus Austin Reeves, I'm sure would be a really good game. But but the Mark Price career at this point is 4 times MVP votes as well, too. So it wasn't just making all NBAs. Like, he was getting on the ballot. People were voting him. Top 5 in the league for MVP a couple times, I guess. Some of those Cavs teams were. Of course, they get known for Jordan hitting the buzzer beater on him, but that's another fun team, chat, with Price and Elo and Brad Daugherty. Back in our 2K days, some of those classic Cavs teams, was Ron Harper on one of those classic 2K rosters? That was a fun roster to play with. It was Price, Harper, Daugherty, and who was the other guy is Nance? Nance was also on those teams, chat. So you had Daugherty, Nance in the front line, Harper as well. It's like a guard sort of forward player. I'm pretty sure he wasn't like a power forward, but yeah, he was more shooting guard, small forward. And then Price, of course, as well. And then who was the other guy that we mentioned? I just forgot. Oh, Craig Elo was the other white guy, who was also kind of a wing player, which I was, you think white guy got Mark Price on the team when early days of his basketball fan, hearing about this Jordan buzzer beater, I always thought Craig Elo, and plus he's guarding Michael Jordan as well too, so I always thought he was a shooting guard, but was he maybe more like 6'8"? Maybe he was in the 6'6" range, chat. Let's see here. He might have been a little, okay, 6'8", 6'6", 180. So yeah, he was a shooting guard. I guess 2K, for some reason, does he just got like a big head in 2K? Pause! He might, but he looked more like a wing in 2K, I guess. But yeah, Daugherty and Nance in the front line is really fun. Shout out Brad Daugherty. I like Brad Daugherty, chat. A little Karl Anthony Towns-ish with the #1 overall pick. I know only one All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. I think Towns a little bit better career at this point. But the #1 overall pick, where people are like, he's not talked about as a win for the #1 overall pick necessarily, but he absolutely is, chat. I mean, even with the shortened career that he had with some of the injury stuff, he gives you 19 a game for 8 years. I mean, that's still a window to compete. Not 20 years, but it is what it is. Even in a 20-year career, how many guys are giving you... Yeah, it's just pause, chat, but LeBron is like the only guy that's... And Kareem that are going to be 20-year careers of actually at that level. Everybody else, it's like, they probably have an 8-year run where they're at the peak of their powers at some point, or a decade or whatever. Of course, Durant and Steph and some of these other guys that are emerging as well, too, as time goes on. The health stuff, guys are able to play longer. If Daugherty was playing around, I guess I don't remember exactly the extent to his injuries. Was it some back stuff maybe? You get some of the back stuff and it's, hey, yo, chat. Hey, yo, but it's hard to recover from. Pause. Yikes. But what are these nicknames for Daugherty? What do we got going on here, chat? This might be the biggest pause on Basketball Reference. Daugherty is both Big Dookie and Hooch. This is crazy. Did YouTube just take us down for saying that, chat? Are these nicknames that he had in the moment? This definitely was. You could see the old announcers back in the day. Again, he was like 80s and 90s. It's not like old-timey announcers, but you can see the older announcers being like, Hooch going in for the score, chat, just dropping Hooch on a broadcast. Pause. Hey, dropping Hooch on a broadcast is crazy, chat. But Big Dookie as well. What are you going to call him, Big Dookie? Big Dookie is nuts. Big Dookie. And you know, this is gonna be crazy, chat, but one of the phrases that I guess I hate and love it both. It makes you cringe to hear it, but you love it when an announcer drops it. Is anytime a guy's going to the bench to get a rest. And shout out to Bill Raftery, but Bill Raftery says this all the time, and I don't know, Iron Eagle, just tap him on the shoulder at one of these dinners and just be like, Raftery, you can't keep saying every time a guy goes to the bench to get a rest that he's going to get a blow. You just can't say that. You can't ever, and he says it all. Raftery says it almost exclusively. He never says a guy's going, and I get it. You know, Raftery's from a different era, all this stuff. I run into it with, you know, grandparents and stuff, chat, where it's like, you know, words and phrases from different eras. They're like, wait a second, I can't keep up with the times, shit. You know, you're like, wait a second, yikes. But, you know, you just can't in 2025 be saying, oh, you know, you can't be saying Brad Daugherty's going to the bench to get a blow. But if you're going to be dropping the nickname in there, if you're going to be saying Big Dookie's going to the bench to get a blow, it's crazy. Bill Raftery might get, the execs would be like, what did Bill Raftery just say? And he's like, you guys don't know about Big Dookie going to the bench to get a blow? It's just what it is. But, yeah, I mean, you know, Brad Daugherty, big center, 7-footer, chat. You know, some of the minutes, he's definitely be going to the bench to get a couple of blows throughout the course of this game. It's just what it is. And I don't know if Raftery was calling NBA games, but with big, I almost called him Big Hoochie, chat. Big Hoochie is nuts. Oh, man. Do we have to take a break? I don't even know. This is wild. Hopefully nobody I know is listening, chat. That's crazy. That is crazy talk. But yeah, anyway, shout out Brad Daugherty. And that Cavs team. Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about Big Dookie, chat? Eggs. Yikes. This Cavs team is, do we just need to go through the basketball? This might be the greatest nickname team of all time, though. I guess we didn't stumble on this team. We knew about this team, but we just stumbled on the nicknames for this team. I mean, was there a lot? Eggs and Big Hookie? Lenny Wilkins, shout out. One of the great coaches as well, to another reason this team was able to. Just solid players, chat. Hey, yo. Great roster all the way through. The High Atolla of Somalia? Okay. Flash Nance. Mr. Slambassador? Chat. Another great... This is a great nickname on the complete opposite end of the scale. We have both the worst nicknames and the best nicknames of all time on this team. We have Big Dookie, Eggs, and Mr. Slambassador. Larry Nance, how is this not brought up as a nickname? This might be the best nickname of all time. The Slambassador? IT. We might have to like put up a post as like alert the people. Like, did you guys know that Larry Nance's nickname is Mr. Slambassador? That is crazy. One of the other underrated nicknames that I really, really like is, not Daryl Armstrong. Pause, but Black College. Yikes. No, not Daryl Armstrong. I guess, you know, shout out, great nickname, chat, but or not. I guess I don't know why it was given to him, but yeah, Dr. Duncanstein, Daryl Griffith. Dr. Duncanstein. The Mad Bomber's not bad either, too, chat. You know, a little like feels like that goes across sports, which are not bad nicknames, but maybe also fall in the line of a little basic. Like, this could be a quarterback or, you know, like David Ortiz or, you know, a three-pointer or I guess like a dunker in this situation. It's not like the most descriptive nickname of all time. But Dr. Duncanstein is great. Duncanstein is all time. That's, you know, like Slambassador, these are ones that can't even be reused. Like Hollywood's remaking movies, we can't even remake these nicknames. There's not another guy that can, like, could Aaron Gordon be Dr. Duncanstein? Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's a Dr. Duncan. And I guess shooting guard, you know, doesn't need to be a more, you know, is Mac McClung Dr. Duncanstein now? But it's just like, no. The fact that somebody was able to give that nickname to Daryl Griffith is like such a good nickname that it can't. Again, the Mad Bomber, like, there's 25,000 Mad Bombers out there. Daryl LaMonica, chat, I'm pretty sure he was the Mad Bomber, quarterback for the Raiders, which is why I said a quarterback could have that nickname. But also, great nickname as well, too. And another guy a guy that made the Aura rankings based on his nickname. And you know what? Dr. Duncanstein should have been on the Aura rankings as well, too, because you get a lot of Aura from throwing down dunks, chat. But Downtown Freddie Brown, I like that they have to just put Freddie kind of in here as a nickname, which is not really a nickname. It's just another name for Fred. But Downtown, and again, Downtown was his nickname, but his nickname was Downtown Freddie Brown. The nickname is kind of the whole name, and the rhyme scheme of the name. Like, did Eminem write this guy's name down from the womb, chat? I don't think Eminem wasn't even in the womb at this point. Yikes! But maybe he. I guess 90s rapper. When was Eminem born, chat? The man's a grandpa now. So we need to figure out what the birth date was. 72? Freddie Brown, I guess, did he get his nickname as a rookie? Maybe he did, chat. Eminem, ghostwriting from the beyond. Downtown Freddie Brown. And I guess, you know, Rakim, you know, who would have been alive in the 70s? I guess who would have been alive in the 70s is crazy as for hip hop chat, but in the kid version of it anyways. But hey yo chat. But yeah, Downtown Freddie Brown, just great rhyming nickname that sounds great to say. So also on the list for sure. But those are always Downtown Freddie Brown and Dr. Dunkenstein are always the top two. If we went through again and ranked them, I don't know what the top two would actually be, but those are always the first two that I think of for great nicknames. Again, you think like Dr. J is, and again, for ranking nicknames, like how are you not ranking like Dr. or, you know, Air Jordan or something like that, where the iconic status of the guy as well too can elevate what I mean, Air Jordan's literally a brand. Like the nickname is so strong, it's $1 billion corporation. But, you know, does it rhyme like Downtown Freddie Brown or Dr. Dunkenstein? Doesn't really rhyme. Dr. Dunkenstein? I guess we said rhyme for Dunkenstein, so that rhymed. But Dunkenstein doesn't rhyme, chat. But what was the other one? Oh, Slambassador? Slambassador is, I mean, that's going to be right there, chat. That's on our Mount Rushmore go-to nicknames. If there's ever a trivia situation that we're in on where it's like, what's your favorite sports nickname of all time? Then if we have to bring out the Slambassador for Larry Nance, chat, we'll definitely be doing the Slambassador Junior. Is there like junior ambassadors? There might be. So there is Larry Nance Jr. He might be the only one that can get the nickname passed down properly, chat. Of course, you know, also Freddie Brown getting his education in the hometown state with the iconic school of Southeastern Iowa Community College on the West Burlington campus, chat. So you know, the man got the finest colleges that anybody's ever been to. But yeah, also one of the finest nicknames that anybody's ever had as well. Let me think. I guess if we went other sports as well too, that would open up the conversation in a different way. But yeah, anyways, we'll keep an eye. I guess maybe we won't, chat. Yikes, this game is getting out of hand. Spurs is getting out of hand. Magic Hornets Corday night might be the only game that's actually kind of close at this point in the stretch, chat. But and tonight as well too, OKC versus Sacramento. Make no mistake, we might be watching a movie a little bit later. We'll just have to see. Keegan Murray, if Keegan Murray's like 1 for 6 to start, I think we'll be good. But well, I guess this Cleveland-Portland game, I have a sneaky feeling that that'll be just a weird competitive game. I know Cleveland has been in a weird funk. They might be out to prove something, and there's also been some matchup stuff going on with Cleveland as well. Like, where's Jeremy Grant at right now? Like, is Jeremy Grant going to go out there and if Jeremy Grant goes out there and torches them tonight, is he even healthy right now, Chad? Yikes. What's going on with Jeremy Grant? Is he up do we bet the Jeremy Grant overs? Doubtful for the game against the Cavs. So the Cavs catch a break with no Jeremy Grant to go out there and torch him tonight. But again, with the Blazers' sort of speed and athleticism and the way they play at home, West Coast game, Cavs going to the West Coast, I don't know. Something about that just seems like it could be a fun night of League Pass type game, Chad. But Dallas, New York, the fake Luka Brunson matchup. Really? Is it? I guess there's no way to do like a round robin tournament of Lakers, Mavs, Knicks, where it's like the Mavs mistakes tournament. But this is part of, I guess the Mavs mistakes tournament would be them playing those teams. So maybe they need to just schedule that run where, yeah, the Mavs play the Knicks and the Lakers back to back, and it's like, oh no, Brunson one game and then the Luka next game. I think the Mavs fans that might be where they leave. That would be a terrible way to go out, chat. Be like, just like running out and never being talked to again. Just 2 games in a row versus Brunson and Luka. And then the Mavs are all of a sudden in Vegas the next night. Just wait, what happened? Irsay bought the Mavs and moved them to Vegas? But, yeah, at least they're within 12, which is not bad for a Tuesday night, apparently. As 20 seems to be the mark. So shout out. I guess we'll just take a break now. We'll get the game switched. We'll get snuggled in for, what are we snuggling in for, chat? This last 8 minutes of this Hornets Magic game? I guess it is what it is at this point, but, yeah, we'll be right back after we get everything adjusted and on the other side of this break. Hey, everything adjusted? Hey, yo, pause! Okay, chat, we are back. And speaking of the Magic, it's actually kind of perfect that they are one of the games that we switch on to the background right now. And it is a nail biter, too. It's a 3-point game with, I guess, a little bit ahead on the... for once, we're actually ahead on the live video stream that we are on the ESPN feed. Shout out League Pass, chat. But 3-point game by Orlando up by... we're probably just not refreshed. We're way behind on time here. Yeah, actually, okay, once again, we are behind, chat. But we're a little bit closer this time anyways. But yeah, 3-point game, 4:45 left in the fourth quarter. Bridges from the corner, can't tie it up, chat. So, I mean, a close game. You know they'll probably clip this one out, and Sam will be watching on the YouTube a little bit later. Be locked in on his team of the year, chat. Are they still his team of the year? We don't know if he's just owned him yet. We'll get an update on that before the season officially closes, chat. But, yeah, speaking of Orlando, the other night, they officially inducted Dwight Howard into the Team Hall of Fame, which I don't know if Magic fans in the chat have opinions on. I mean, I'm sure every Magic fan that watched and, you know, we'll say enjoyed the Dwight Howard career. There was definitely good moments in it, which we will get to, chat. But, you know, for all the fans that were a part of the Dwight Howard career, I'm sure they'd have opinions on whether or not his jersey should have been retired, what the ultimate outcome of the situation was, and just, you know, you know, for Magic's fans, like, what the true feelings of his tenure is in Orlando. I still don't, like, really fully know. I don't even know if they, like, fully know what their feelings for Orlando, or for Dwight Howard is at this point, because if you look at the resume, chat, and again, the resume is not fully Orlando. I guess there's one. He's in the LA All-Star, so you got 2 All-Stars that aren't his, and I guess 2 All-NBAs as well, too, in that mix. For Orlando, or for non-Orlando achievements on the resume here. I don't know if there was an all-defensive team. There definitely was a, chat. There was 5 of those were in those 5 Orlando years. But, again, the reason I think that maybe if there was conflicted feelings for, not, you know, conflicted for, you know, like we know what happened there with some of the relationship stuff, obviously, but with him and the fans, but the good basketball stuff is probably difficult to forget. And as a person that, like I said before, with some of this stuff with Steph and, you know, LeBron and Michael Jordan and some of the stuff we were talking about with some of our hypothetical pickup game scenarios, chat, well, you'll just have to go back and look why we said that we would draft. Maybe we would draft Steph over LeBron. Like, what the thought situation for building that or Steph over Michael Jordan was the hot take for the thought experiment of that team would have been. Again, it was just thinking out something. But Dwight's just another one of those curious guys to have in the all-time lineups, in the all-time games, and just, like, on the court against these various superstars, chat, because, you know, for what he was able to accomplish in Orlando, and it's similar to, like, what we were talking about with what Butler was able to do in respect to the Heat's franchise. Like, with what Dwight was able to do with respect to the Magic franchise was obviously superior to almost anybody that the Magic have ever seen, chat. And you know, Magic fans, obviously you guys know this, but Dwight Howard, I think, could have easily had been the best Magic player to ever play for the Magic. And I know the same case goes for Shaq, obviously, if he stays. Shaq is still, you know, in the way that we were talking about with LeBron, like, Shaq is still the most talented person to ever wear a Magic uniform. Is there, I guess there's nobody that was, well, wait, did Hakeem have a Magic run? And again, the talent thing, he did have, what, a Toronto run. Oh, I think I'm thinking Pat Ewing, chat. Pat Ewing had a Magic run. I think Hakeem just had a Toronto run. And was there another team in there? Oh, no, just Toronto. So 2 versions of a Rockets jersey, I guess, on here. I guess 96. They decided to switch it up, chat. But yeah, maybe, I guess you wouldn't say Pat Ewing peak Pat Ewing more talented than Shaq necessarily. But again, if you look at the Shaq Orlando run, only 4 years. Only that first contract. Orlando was a little bit of a different franchise at that point. I know that any of the prestige that they had prior to getting Dwight was because of these Shaq teams and because of the Penny teams. And, you know, because of what they were able to accomplish, Chad, with getting this team to the finals. But that was their 4th overall season, Shaq's rookie season. So they'd been in the league for 3 years when they'd gotten Shaquille O'Neal. So even if he had I guess who knows if he had won the finals or whatever. But it's just such a young team, and Shaq is such a budding superstar in such a unique way, Chat, where, have we ever seen a guy as electric as Shaquille O'Neal as a personality in any sort of capacity? I know the on-the-court figures, like we've Victor Wembanyama, for example, obviously we've gravitated to his personality and the on-the-court stuff as well. And, LeBron, all of these stars you find, and you get into the limelight as a young age as well, too. You get adjusted maybe earlier on, and if you're able to adjust properly, with a guy like LeBron, you get the seasoning, I don't know, is that a pause, Chat? But, you're just more prepared to handle stuff in your 20s because you've been in the limelight for so much longer. But even him as like a character, compared to Shaquille O'Neal, was he the character that Shaq was? And did Shaq eventually, of course, continue to become the commercial success as well, too, once the NBA stuff grew out? But he did Blue Chips while he was at LSU or Orlando, Chat. I forget. Blue Chips is 92 or 93. Oh, Chat, I'm a terrible person. Cancel me now. I don't know what year Blues Chips was released. I absolutely should. IT, well, you got us this time. We get mad at you guys, but I can hear him in the booth be mad right now, and they are absolutely correct because we should know what year Blue Chips was released. 94! So, yeah, he was definitely at Orlando. But, yeah, I guess, the star power, all that stuff. Like, obviously, if Shaq stays in Orlando, then Shaq is the most talented and the best Orlando. And maybe, he still probably is the best Orlando athlete to ever play. But it is close, Chat. I think it is really close because, again, if we're just looking for the history that did happen and not again, I guess I'm talking for the potential like he should have been. But if we are looking at the history that happened as well, too, like it is kind of a conversation. And Shaq obviously hit peaks offensively that Dwight was never able to accomplish, and still, the all-round defender player as well, too. 3 blocks a game, especially the early Orlando Shaq as well, too, where you're getting him at like kind of the peak. I don't know if athleticism is the right word, because then, the athletic dominance turns into a different thing with the Lakers years and then, later in his career. But just kind of the flying around, and he is flying around too in LA. Like that's what's so crazy about Shaq, is you don't. I guess it is what it is. You get slimmer Shaq in Orlando, Chat. It is what it is. So the way he's flying around, and I'm sure he is maybe a little bit faster, but the way he's flying around is just different. Like he maybe looks more athletic, but in LA he's still as athletic, and all the numbers are up, and he's winning the finals and all this stuff. But 27 a game offensively, 58% from the field. Obviously maybe able to create offensively in a different type of way than Dwight. And Chat, this Until Dawn trailer, April 25th, really got us shook. There's a big pickaxe scene in this trailer where I don't know if this guy is... The way they're cutting it in the trailer is honestly going to make me think now that they don't pickaxe anybody at least in that scene in the movie. But he's like slicing down at the camera, and then they're cutting to a person laying on the ground. So the fact that, again, there's multiple cuts back and forth. She was definitely going through something, Chat, pause, but if it was a pickaxe to the torso, she was taking it well, that's for sure. Hey, yo, Chat, pause. But who knows? Maybe she just handled a lot, Chat. It is what it is. But is that a sketch that somebody needs to do, Chat? I don't know if this is... IT, write it down. I need to workshop this idea. Or I guess it's no fun if we don't say it, but if you get, Chat, if you get like a real woman of the world that's been around, that, again, and it's like a real stretch to say that that's a person that can handle a lot. And then handling a lot in a horror movie is a different type of thing. But, I guess if you clip the phrase out, it's a similar phrase. That's why I said I need to workshop the idea and figure out what the commonality is there, Chat. But I guess we're not Norman. We can't just figure it out on the top. But anyways, yeah, peak Orlando Shaq, 58% from the field, 27 and 12 and a half. And like we said, almost 3 blocks a game as well, too. You get 2 third-team All-NBA appearances, 1 second team. And then he doesn't make All-NBA his rookie year, but he is 7th in MVP voting that year, so... Like, what do you do, Chat? You basically say he's an All-NBA level player that year. But he's not necessarily a top 5 player in the league at this point. in Orlando, and maybe he is as well too. Again, you just got like Hakeem and David Robinson kind of a little bit more. Again, they're like at the peak of their powers. You know, Hakeem's in his 30s, Robinson's in his late 20s, Ewing as well too, early 30s, like hanging around as another awards guy who's just going to be taking up a spot from a legacy standpoint as well too. And Hakeem Olajuwon, he didn't even know he was winning the Hakeem Olajuwon Defensive Player of the Year trophy, but look at this. We're stuck in some kind of random time loop now. Is this even possible? Like, can Hakeem Olajuwon win the Hakeem Olajuwon trophy, or is this some kind of grandfather paradox time loop thing that's just going to warp us? We don't even know. Is that what's happening to America, chat? NBA named the Defensive Player of the Year trophy to Hakeem. And not we're as pro Hakeem as anybody. It's just I guess we can name it for any trophy as well too. And Michael Jordan wins the Michael Jordan, just for some reason seeing it for the year because for the All NBAs we had Shaq on third team that year, like we were saying, Robinson on second team, and then Hakeem on first team. So you got the legacy guys kind of stacked up. And again, Robinson this year is like 29 in 10. So, and is he MVP of the league in this? Is he 93, 94? Or 94, 95, chat? Where'd Robinson go? Did Robinson get an award named after him? Let me see. Yeah, he was 94, 95. So next, and I guess he probably would have been first team All-NBA, obviously, if he would have won the MVP that year. But, yeah, that, wait, his rookie, 92, 93. Yeah, let's go back to his rookie year and see who was in the mix there. Did they only have two? No, they had three. So David Robinson was on third. Pat Ewing was on second, and Hakeem. So, yeah, the three guys that we were saying were above him. Rookie Shaq at 23 and 14. 23 and 14. David Robinson that year is 23 and 11. Oh, I'm glad our guy David Robinson got on the list, chat. 43 and 49 and 33. Orlando being 41 and 41 though. We'd have to go compare the rosters. Like, how much did they spend? Probably not a lot. But I imagine Shaq raising the ceiling of that team is a big reason why they were at 41, chat. So, and this is not positionless voting where they could have had two centers on, any of these lineups. Like, you get Derek Coleman in here as a forward shout out at 20 and 11. But, is Derek Coleman better than Shaq in 93, 94? Like, he might be, two-time All-NBA as well, too. So, had been All-NBA the previous season, 20 and 11, kind of consistent, again, steady in that role. But, and again, shout out, former number 1 overall pick. Again, not a guy that should be on our list of guys. It's like, definitely worked out, for sure. I mean, look at the run here, chat. Multiple 18-point-a-game seasons. That's just like, but, that's amazing stuff. That's great drafting. That's a player that you're like, yeah, this is a great player to get in the draft. You just go, number 1 pick, oh, wait, what else was in that draft? But hey, Derek Coleman. I mean, if we went back and redraft the draft, he's probably the number 1 overall pick anyways. But, yeah, so Shaq for that run, and again, was able to take him to the finals for that season as well, too. But, who also took the finals for a season while he was there, if we're just considering the Magic portion of it? Dwight Howard also did make that finals appearance as well, too, chat. And had the 6 seasons for the Magic. So I don't know how we're going to view some of these last couple of seasons, and especially the 54-game one with, the way he was being perceived by the Orlando fans as well, too. But the peak NBA run, I guess he makes, like we were saying, 6 All-NBA teams, and he is first-team All-NBA. So like we're saying, Shaq is going up against Hakeem, David Robinson, and Pat Ewing at the peak of their powers. So, like, to see and to remember what Dwight is going up against. And the center thing is, because you got Garnett and Duncan, you can kind of mess around with the forward spot as well, too. Like, Duncan's definitely a center at this time, too. So, it's not like Duncan is not the best center in the league. But at the same time, Dwight is also the best true center in the league. And maybe, again, that's semantics on how you want to say it. But, he's right in the mix with all those top guys. And you got Amari at center. Like, I guess you could play Amari at forward as well, too. So Garnett was first team that year, and Duncan was on second team. And Dirk was also on second team. That's just a fun forward combination, chat. And that's Duncan and Dirk is fun for the modern NBA as well too, because Dirk obviously gives you such good floor spacing in not just 3-point shooting, but he gives you can get his shot from anywhere on the court as well too, maybe in a little bit of a better way than Duncan can. But then Duncan's going to give you some of the defensive stuff that Dirk's not going to necessarily provide, and then maybe some connectivity stuff as well too, where who knows what the guard on this lineup is like, but Duncan can, kind of still stabilize the entire court in maybe a way that Dirk can't. But there's also, again, just like a size factor with that team where Dirk could have been a center at some point in his career. And when we talk about, like, this is something about the early 2000s with the All-NBA teams where, again, these guys weren't playing with each other and playing with lineups built like this. But when you look at what the best lineups were on paper, there is a versatility to these lineups that really fit to the modern NBA. And the way Sam is talked about, and I guess I don't want to put this on Sam pause, but because this sounds crazy, but the way the NBA's gotten bigger, hey yo, but again, the way the lineup sizes have increased, chat, where you look at some 6'3", 6'4" guards now, and almost point guards are almost, again, like 6'4", 6'5" now is kind of point guard-ish territory. Like Shea's point guard, Shea's 6'6", and I know Simmons is on his podcast talking about Shea as having like a great guard season compared to MJ and Kobe and somebody, and you're comparing him scoring wise to these other two guards. But again, it's like in this lineup, he's like their point guard, but he's 6'6", but then they have Case and Wallace as well too, who can get on the court and be. Is he the point guard? But he's the shortest guy in the lineup, anyways, at like 6'2", 6'3". He might even be like 6 foot, chat. Who knows? But again, like Garnett and LeBron and Dwight in the front court, like that's a front court that probably could play together in the modern NBA. And still, like, Garnett could be a small ball five. And again, if we're doing the full picture of team building stuff, you're probably like, well, let's just get Garnett at small ball five with LeBron, a little more floor spacing with an extra shooter in there. Like, do we bring Steve Nash up and trade him out for Dwight Howard in this lineup? Like, make no mistake, speaking of Simmons, there's probably people that would, chat, but I like the idea of Dwight Howard, especially the modern, like, Dwight Howard is kind of a timeless basketball player, and a lot of great players are, chat. Like, there's no era that you can't put the players into and succeed. But and again, the physicality, like, you put Dwight back in the 50s, make no mistake, he's probably Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, he's probably scoring 100 points every game. Dwight Howard's just insane. I don't know, is he moving around the same way Wilt is though back then? Dwight Howard's so, but then is the weight, like, is the bench press technology the same where Dwight Howard can have the same shoulders? Or is he going to just end up a little, what do they put in the food? The GMOs, chat? The hormones or whatever that's like that maybe Wilt wasn't getting back in the day. Hey, yo, pause. But Wilt was getting hormones back in the day. Make no mistake, chat. So even if it wasn't in the GMOs, I think he was still accumulating enough of them to get the same effect. Oh, and speaking of Orlando again, shout out. They do close out the win here against Charlotte, 111-104. So we're down to just a couple of blowout games in the background. I guess I was about to say we could probably do a better job of keeping an eye on this game as well too, because you never know. Jimmy Butler could get riled up here. Does Draymond get back in that? Maybe he used up his one good offensive. Oh, excuse me, chat. Game for the season earlier. Draymond. That's why you can't take us seriously. We just burped in the mic while we say that, so we don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, Dwight. Anyways. Just looks like defense and rim running and rebounding and out jumping everybody and dunking the ball. Like, I guess there's just no era that doesn't work in, hypothetically. But the fact also that this worked to win the title, because again, to say that Dwight is a dunker is a little disrespectful to his offensive game in the earlier part of his career, but he's almost like a little Giannis-y, but he didn't have obviously the dribbly type stuff that Giannis has. And I know Giannis is like Shaq and Hakeem and some of these other centers, but maybe again he's a little more Dwight. Like, is this bag Dwight Howard? That's Giannis. Don't cancel us, Giannis. We're pro Giannis on this pod. So I want to call him and say it's a Dwight Howard bag, but just the physicality around Dwight Howard or Giannis at the rim is a little Dwight Howard-y. Pause. Hey, yo, whoa. That could go a lot of directions, chat. Dwight Howard at the rim is a long story outside of basketball, But sticking to the basketball portion of it anyways, and I guess the final career numbers of it being 15 and 11, or not necessarily at the peak, but he was a 20-point-a-game scorer there for a couple of years as well. 23 in that 2010-2011 season. So if you go like his all-star run in Orlando, those 6 seasons, he was 59% from the field. So was he? I guess he's getting different types of shots than Shaq as well too. But 20 a game, 13, and then Shaq more blocks, better on defense. I mean, there's definitely a case to be made, but and you know, to see what even those runs were in the playoffs, to remind ourselves, so like 7, 8, 2 rounds, the Raptors and then the Pistons in 07-08. So is this still like a Chauncey Billups team at all? Did he finish the season on this team? He might have gotten traded the next year. He probably gets traded in 08-09. So this is like the last version of the Pistons team. And you still got these guys as like defensive player of the year candidates. Like this is still obviously a really good defensive team. Chauncey Billups still 40% from 3 that year. Same with, so, you know, 36% from 3 as a team. I guess, you know, they're 13th in the league. I guess probably some of the guys. Yeah, McDice, I guess the 0% count. Probably 18% from Stuckey and 22% in 19 games from Ronald Murray. Lindsey Hunter. It's a weird that's like the crossover of Ronald Stuckey and Chauncey Billups. That's like Picasso and Aerosmith. Like you don't think of them in the same era, but Chauncey Billups and Rodney Stuckey, I guess, played on the same team together in 2008. But, you know, and then Billups plays with Melo and stuff. So, but then Melo was also 03 draft. So, you know, they could have played together just by virtue of him being drafted by the Pistons as well. But, yeah, they lost to the Pistons, I guess, in that first one. He went to 6 with the Celtics that year in the Eastern Conference Finals. Still pushed him a little bit. And then, yeah, made the finals, lost to Kobe's Lakers. But then again, you know, takes down LeBron in the playoffs. Yeah, pause. I'm not talking about the hotel room. I'm talking about the playoffs series in 6 as well. And I know that the way that maybe the supporting cast around Dwight Howard elevated, like you can't take away from the performances of Turkoglu, Chet. I mean, Turkoglu is legendary for these runs, and for what they're able to accomplish. But you know, from talent on paper standpoint, is it? I guess, you know, Turkoglu is probably the second best player in the Cavs for sure. Like Dwight's definitely got a little bit better of a supporting cast, but he's not a crazy supporting cast. I mean, it's also the state of the league as well too. So, you know, better supporting cast. But JJ Hickson, you forget that they take JJ Hickson in I guess the 08 draft. Chat 18th, 19th pick. I thought they took him a little bit higher than that. But yeah, I mean, to go toe to toe with, of course, that kind of star player, Chat. I mean, did Shaq? I guess they did take down Michael Jordan in the playoffs, so we gotta give Shaq his credit for that. So, you know, we're not making, again, it's not the case that like Dwight was the best Magic. It's like maybe there's an argument that there is there, but again, once Shaq leaves, of course, the 4-year run of Shaq with Dwight Howard, he could have been, and if the run continues and, you know, if he doesn't get whatever and just start requesting trades and then not, you know, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre not making up his mind, oh, I actually will request a trade then later on, and, you know, it just messes up the whole team, Chat. But still able to get past a peak version of LeBron and mess up the Kobe finals versus, we thought we were going to get that 09 finals, LeBron versus Kobe. And to be honest, like time machine wise, obviously, if we could go back and it's like, would you have rather have seen a LeBron Kobe finals or LeBron Dwight Howard finals, or a Kobe Dwight Howard finals? It's like, yeah, obviously, you know, and especially the way that's aged as well too. And it's like, okay, LeBron, you know, year 4, year 5. Whoa! Did Bam just get rejected by Buddy Hield? Did he just get swallowed up at the rim by Buddy Hield? I think they called a foul, Chat, but it looked good. It looked impressive in real time. Oh yeah, no, he didn't get him. It's because Bam was so tall that he just covered up Buddy Hield on the screen when he went in for the dunk. So the way that Bam kind of fell and the ball, it kind of looked like he might have gotten blocked, but no, it was all foul. All foul from our guy Buddy Hield. And also, it's like, wait a second, did Buddy Hield make that play? That would have been a crazy highlight. Not necessarily Nate Robinson on, Yao Ming, but still kind of impressive. I'm trying to think, did Nate Robinson block Dwight Howard in game? He got him in the dunk contest. Blocked him from a couple of dunk contest wins, chat. But anyways, now that, of course, we know LeBron is like arguably the greatest player of all time. Looking back, it's like, would we have rather seen two of the top 10 greatest players, top whatever greatest players of all time, play in the NBA Finals? Yeah, that's obviously a storyline that would have been fun to have in the NBA history books. But hey, Dwight Howard had an amazing Finals, and that spacing and the three-point shooting and the matchup of that Magic team to the Cavs team. Again, a really good, like, as much as we say the supporting cast of that Cavs team, as we look back and we go, oh, LeBron didn't have anybody. And LeBron, yeah, that is true to some degree. LeBron was awesome. They also won 66 games. You don't win 66 games with a trash team necessarily. And we are looking at the names now and comparing them to, who we have in the league now as well, too. And being like, hey, is... like, we just think that, oh, LeBron winning 66 games with this guy's like now. Like, oh, how impressive would that be? And not saying that he couldn't do it, chat. A peak version of LeBron. Just drag this team into the league now. Could he win 66 games? Probably not, chat. He's not winning. Who knows? Who knows? On one hand, you go, the league's more talented than ever. Then, by the time you get to March, everybody in the league's hurt. Nobody's playing, and everybody's load managing. It's like, well, I guess if this is the league that's out there, maybe the 08-09 Cavs are actually playing, and then, they're actually making the finals and getting into the playoffs in that kind of way. But, and I guess we're getting, their star player. Everybody's out there trying their best. But, rookie Gortat on this team, a Donald Foyle, 11-year veteran. I'm thinking, who's the guard I'm thinking of? Aaron Aflalo. I was thinking Aaron Aflalo was in the league 11 years, but no, Foyle is a different player than Aflalo. But then loses the finals. And the next season in Orlando, loses to Boston in 6. So, in the conference finals. So that's the special element of as well, too, where there was something real about Dwight Howard in this era as a contending guy, Chad. It's just what it is. And, again, it was cut short with maybe how he handled some of the business of it and him getting traded and kind of resetting the teams as well. But, yeah, they lost in the first round to Atlanta this year. And was he even in this? I'm trying to remember if he was even in this playoff. Oh, this was the 78 one. The next season, did he even play in the playoffs for him? Or did he just get traded? He got traded in the off season, right? Not in season. 54 games. Is there transactions? Yeah. Let's see. Was Dwight Howard an in-season move? No, it doesn't look like. They only traded Brandon Bass for Glenn Davis. That's it. They saw Glenn Davis in the finals, and they said, gotta have him. He is ours, chat. But Ryan Anderson on the team at that point. So, yeah, I guess let's check here and see when he got traded. 20 a game still that year as well. But it was, if I remember correctly, in the offseason when Houston acquired him. Oh, going the wrong way. Let's see. 4-teamer by Orlando with Earl Clark and Chris Duhon to the... Oh, that's right. He went from the Lakers to the... That's how forgettable that Lakers tenure was, chat. He went from the Lakers and then the Lakers to the Rockets. But to the Lakers, Denver traded Aaron Aflalo, Al Harrington, and a 2013 second, 2014 first, Dario Saric. Whoa, later selected to the Magic. The Lakers traded Christian Ayuna, Josh McRobertson a second to the Wesley Awunda to the second. And then the Lakers traded Andrew Bynum to the Sixers. The Magic traded Jason Richardson to the Sixers. Sixers traded Iggy to the Nuggets. And the Sixers to the Nuggets, and the Sixers traded Harkless and Vucevic and a 2018 first to the Orlando Magic. You forget that Vucevic was, or I guess you don't as well too, because he, kind of becomes a fun piece from that Magic trade. And maybe Magic fans, because of Vooch being kind of nice, are like, oh, did we win the trade? But, you got Wesley Awunda and Dario Saric as well. You know, Afwalo is not bad. Al Harrington, did he have a Magic run at that time? I mean, I guess he had a run for everybody, chat. But, oh man, was he even there a full season? Where is his Magic run is just lost. Or wherever he got traded. Whatever team he went to the Knicks? Who knows, chat? Denver? Yikes. He just is a hard one to track sometimes. Pause! But, yeah, of course, the LA thing obviously didn't work out. And as much as it is on, you know, each individual, it's on kind of everybody in LA. Like, that's kind of the way I guess that's not the way every situation works out. You know, you could read situations where it's like, oh, there's a guy. That's a reason why that thing didn't work. But it just wasn't necessarily personalities that were meant to be together. And, you know, unfortunately, it's the storyline for multiple players on this Lakers roster. So you kind of put them all on one team, and it's just not necessarily the most ideal way for it to work out, chat. But, I mean, you're going to get swept by the Spurs, so it is what it is. You can't really do anything about that. To be honest, they probably blew it up too early because, again, you can't really judge anything by what San Antonio does to you in the playoffs. Pause. You just got to run it back the next season. You hope you don't run into the juggernaut that was Tim Duncan and Ginobili and Parker. And I know Grizzlies and Mavs fans are going to be like, whoa, well, what about those seasons? Yeah, we have 5 titles. Who cares? But Kobe Bryant, first-team All-NBA that year, and Dwight Howard, third-team All-NBA that year as well, too. Still the numbers, you know, pretty impressive. Pow, Meta World Peace, and Steve Nash. I mean, it definitely should have been better, chat. It is what it is. Kobe at 34, Meta World Peace. And Steve Nash at 38 is a little aggressive, to be honest. Steve Nash probably shouldn't. And, you know, 49% from the field, 30. Like, the numbers are still good, but he's taking 9 shots a game. Like, he's not really Steve Nash. He's a lot closer to Steve Blake than he is Steve Nash. I know, okay, he's still a lot more efficient than Steve Blake, but they're getting similar volume, chat. And kind of, I don't know, what was the advanced stats? Are they kind of close in some of the value over replacement stuff? Maybe Steve Nash is good. He's a solid 1 in the value over replacement. Steve Blake, yeah, Steve Blake's a 0.7. So yeah, he was a lot closer to being Steve Blake in those Lakers teams than he was. But for the Bleacher Report graphic, you know, 2013, that's not really Bleacher Report. I don't think, at least not like Bleacher Report Instagram. When's Twitter around? Maybe Bleacher Report on Twitter is putting up a graphic at that point. But I did feel like we were getting graphics somewhere. Maybe on TV, maybe on magazines or something. Were they putting out? I don't know. We were getting these images, billboards, you know, just the general, I guess there, you know, there's photo shoots of the lineups as well too that are, you know, circulated as media photos that are like putting the starting 5 together. And I like this filtering lineup as well too that has Jody Meeks in the top 4, whatever this is sorted by. Just minutes played, total minutes. Jody Meeks was 4th in minutes played in the regular season that year. Powell 5th, Jameson 6th. I mean, they were leaning all in on just like, let's get names, chat. Antoine Jameson in 2013. 15 a game still. I guess we got to give the man some respect, chat. 15 a game till the bitter end. 18 a game then in Cleveland the next year. The man was still balling out at 34. 17, and then a brutal drop-off. But the volume went down. Then the efficiency was still good. So, yeah, it really went back. I was just probably the Clippers. The Clippers in 2013-14, obviously, you know, you're starting to get in on the Lob City stuff there. But that is right when, you know, that started the... I don't know, was Donald Sterling the next year after that or the year, this is the year that it happened? Like, anyways, the Clippers franchise, Donald Sterling, the stink is still in the building. So that's probably why that just derailed the end of Antoine Jameson's career. Brought that to an abrupt halt, chat. But, yeah, Dwight, the Lakers thing. And then the Rockets team, did they make the conference finals with Dwight on the Rockets? Obviously, Harden made the conference finals in his career, but I don't think Dwight Capella was on those teams, chat. But for the Rockets, they got eliminated by the Blazers that one year, unfortunately. And then, yeah, 14-15, he plays 17 playoff games, 16 and 13, and then lose to that Warriors team, chat. I forgot they had lost to the Warriors team that first year as well, too. I guess, no, Kevin McHale, I remember this series. Because that Clippers series, of course, iconic 7-game series as well, too. So, what was this? Yeah, 5-game series. This Warrior team. And really, to be honest, looking back, that not to say that, Steph was the MVP this year. This Warriors team was obviously, rounded into shape really quickly by 2014-15. But to be tested in that way after that Clippers series, the weights just get lifted in a way that maybe the roster stuff, I don't think the Rockets, they were first in their division. Were they a better record than the Clippers that year? 56. Oh, basically the same, chat. But I don't know if they were a better overall team than those peak Clipper teams. But the way the Clippers team were able to grind it out with those teams and to be able to test them, I felt like maybe a little bit easier matchup, at least this year anyways, for what they were going up against. But yeah, still again able to make that run against I'm sorry, I'm thinking, chat, I'm just rambling about the Warriors going up against the Clippers. This was the Harden, because I'm thinking of those earlier years as well too. But this was Harden when he tanked it out and didn't do the thing that year. So, but again, Dwight just manages to be on these teams, chat, that find his way into the conference finals. And that is a common thing with NBA history, chat, is it's a lot of the same guys near the end of the playoffs every year. And even when they move into these different roles where Dwight, again, with the likability, the play, all this stuff, it's just a different version of Dwight. Yikes with the likability. But, a decade into his career, he's still an impactful number 2 guy. And Harden's awesome as well, too, in the 20-teens, chat. So, he's providing an offensive elevation to everything around him in a way that is obviously elevating Dwight Howard as well, too. But there's, again, that translate ability to his game. And that's what I like about Dwight's game is it feels like it's a perfect again, the type of player that Dwight Howard is the perfect type of complementary star player to any, star player lineup. And you could put him almost in any, with any other combination of guys. And, not any other combination, but, the smart floor space. And especially I'm thinking, the way you're thinking about building modern NBA teams as well, too, with having a conscious effort to put at least a couple of 3-point shooters out there. If we're going to go full 60s basketball, it's a 3-point line's not even in existence. So, but then, Dwight Howard, I guess if we're putting those guys with a 3-point line with Dwight Howard, who knows? But they might be able to figure it out, chat. Dwight Howard, Bob Pettit, George Mikan, Dolph Schayes, and, Dave DeBusschere. I think they're figuring out how to win some games, even if it's not the most floor-spaced unit. There'd just be a cluster mess in the middle, chat, just 5 guys in the paint all game. Again, I think they figure out how to move the ball and set 4-player screens in the paint and just guys curl, some weird curl around in the paint, and who knows how they make it work, chat. But again, he's got a versatility with the defense and the rebounding and the rim running and the pick and roll stuff that you could do with him. And he also proved, though, that he could elevate himself to be the best player on a team that makes very successful playoff runs year after year, chat. And like we were talking about as well, too, in that mix for first team All-NBA, and I know, like we were saying with him and Shaq, Shaq's going up against Hakeem and those other guys. Because probably, and I guess like we were saying earlier as well, too, the versatility of some of that forward stuff made it interesting. But this year, so I guess he was first team over Amari. And then, we looked at that year with Garnett. But I guess it didn't register that he made it also potentially on over Duncan as well, too, that year, chat, for that center spot. But were we thinking Duncan center forward? I'd have to go back and look at the storylines that year. But they gave they gave Dwight Howard first team All-NBA either way. Again, I'm not going to be mad about, how the Tim Duncan resume turned out. Looks pretty good at the end of the day, chat. Spurs fans are proud of it, that's for sure. But also on over Yao Ming. And then you got Shaq and Phoenix. So again, maybe the depth of the center position is not necessarily the strongest at this time, but Powell is still there. But the top end talent is still there, chat. These guys are also Hall of Fame. Dirk, Dirk would never have made first team All NBA as a center. There's no way. And by the time he actually probably officially moves to center in a stats way, because again, defensively, you're always going to have to put a defensive center out next to him. It'd really have to be, small ball era where, Dirk's like a size matchup in a way, able to take over, space the floor around him. But is the play-by-play a little farther up here? Center position. So, basically the last couple of years of his career, I guess 03-04, he played 84% of his minutes at center, 75% in 2002-2001. So a couple of hires. You see like some 20s, some 30s, but mostly power forward for most of it. So who was on this Dallas team in 01? Who was the center? Oh, Sean Bradley. That's right, Chad. He was playing with Sean Bradley. Rafe LaFrentz as well, too. So, they've got a pretty stacked front court to keep Dirk occupied as the power forward. It's pretty heavy. 60 minutes. They moved back to... wait, was this the center year, chat? So the year he played center, they won 60 games? What do you know? What do you know? Let me double check and make sure we got our numbers all correct. Dirk this year, 21% at center. I guess we were checking the center ones out there. But, still like Rafe LaFrentz, Sean Bradley as well with that early 2000s team. A lot of weird size on that team, chat. Pause. Hey, yo. Adrian Griffin, Michael Finley, Steve Nash. 60-win teams. It is a fun team, chat. Adrian Griffin. Not Adrian Dantley or Adrian. Is there an Adrian Griffith that I'm thinking of, chat? Maybe I'm just thinking Adrian Dantley. Shout out Adrian Payne, of course. But Adrian Smith as well too. Adrian kind of a stacked lineup. Whoa, shout out Adrian Smith, the 66-65 All-Star MVP. Northeast Mississippi Community College. I mean, you want to talk about a farm town. Farmington, Kentucky? Yikes, chat. And this guy, 15th round. Speaking of rounds, chat, 15 rounds. I guess smaller league, so, 86th pick, but still kind of crazy. 4 years of double-digit scoring. And, he's not a Hall of Famer. One-time All-Star. Okay. We're not putting everybody in, I guess. Adrian Smith still has a ways to go. But, we should get back on track for those All-NBA teams for those years. Here, we're down a couple of pages here, Chad. Yeah, let's go back. 08-09 awards voting. Because Dirk, like we were saying, was second team. Garnett, they're sneaking him on first team as well, too. With the forward spot. LeBron's going to be occupying a forward spot, of course, here for the next 20 years. But back on center over Amari, and this Duncan on third team. The disrespect to Duncan every year, man. I know this is a little past, like, early 2000s. Of course, he's first team every year, but still. I'm back off the Dwight. Hey, yo, pause. But Dwight, let's get him back on the second team. Duncan back on these first teams. 17-10 versus 18 and 13. 2.5 over almost 3 blocks a game that season. Duncan's at 1.5 that year. So, I mean, statistically, you're looking on paper, again, versus him versus these other centers. And the win shares per 48, chat, they're higher. I mean, let's go advanced stats, actually, for a couple of these years as well, too. That'd be interesting to see where his impact compares to the league. Because I don't know if we're just, slowly laying out our all-time draft strategy over the, whatever this pod is, chat, just over the course of it, just slowly dropping clues on what potential strategies could be. And I don't even know, again, however good AI gets, if we could ever simulate some sort of I mean, there's got to be a way, chat. I mean, if with some of the AI stuff that we're already running and simulating and we can already basically make a movie with AI, but could we watch it like it's real? If that makes sense, could there be a hologram on a court. Like if they imagine chat, whatever Vegas attraction this would be, where the NBA, I mean NBA, we're just giving you ideas here. You got to have a guy in research and development making this up right now. But talking about expansion teams in Vegas, forget about that. Let's get the legacy team in Vegas. You have, of course, your expansion arena, all that stuff, but whatever sort of, maybe this is even like a more exclusive arena. Maybe it's like a 5,000 seater. And then you really sell the tickets like, $500, $600, $700, $800 a pop to go see this legacy team. And every night it's like, well, in the scenario where we get to choose the teams, maybe like every time it's a game, it's like 2 people choosing a team. One night they do a Rem and Sam team, and then it's Rem and Sam's for some reason get to choose the legacy lineups for this hypothetical team. But I mean, this has got to be, Chad, if this doesn't happen in the next decade, I mean, what are we really working towards with AI at this point? I guess, obviously good medical things and stuff like that, but yeah, obviously other stuff as well too. Pilots, fighter jet pilots is what it sounds like. I honestly, at this point, chat, I'd rather get sniped down by a drone or a AI pilot than a real person. That's just me, though. It's somebody flying the drone, but the AI pilot, it's like, just program it, let it loose. So, I guess, like an AI robot, if it's locked in with the programming, it's just if it's just better programming, it is what it is, chat. But, I just admitted, AI, it's better than me. It can take me out. It is what it is. But if we can't get these hypothetical AI matchups, again, maybe actually making it seem real with the physicality aspect of it. Like that, how does AI do that? Because then you'd have to have like maybe real life actors play the people. But then again, you're just watching like, and then you just have to have people casted as body types and skill. I don't know how you translate the skill level from an actor to a real thing. So there's still maybe it would take 10, 20 years to develop this out still, Chad. But, still an idea that we got to get the ball rolling on now. So that timeline so that way we can reach that 20-year mark a lot sooner than if we start it later on. But yeah, he was, I guess we were going for MVP, 4th in MVP voting. So, right in those top, but that's why we were over here, Chad. Yeah, for the stats for this mid-2000s run here. Let's get this pulled up. I never, led the league. I've never, won the MVP of the league or anything like that. So never quite, reached into that territory. But, and again, maybe some of the locker room stuff, I don't know if Jimmy Butler's a good guy. And Dwight Howard's a good guy. Everybody's a good guy, Chad. But, the way Jimmy Butler is, and Jimmy Butler was never first team All-NBA. But the way he was a guy that just consistently could take teams farther in the playoffs than most other stars could, Dwight Howard was kind of that star player as well, too, in certain seasons, Chad. And again, it's a shorter run. There's other players that rightfully are probably higher in the legacy rankings than Dwight. But again, to go back to the hypothetical matchup that we were talking about as well, too. I mean, the perception that he has right now, unless there's some sneaky Magic fan in this draft that's going to take Dwight, 7 rounds too early, I feel like Dwight's a guy and for, again, Galaxy bringing out the draft too much, but if we just go the perception of Dwight, I feel like he could probably slide a little bit in this draft. And he would be an insane value if you put him next to other star players. Because, again, he could himself, and, is he going to elevate in a different way when the other stars are more concentrated than maybe they were in the mid-2000s? Then maybe because of a different question. But then again, his role is also in a different type of aspect where until he gets to Harden, who's the best teammate that he's played with? And I know we could say the same for LeBron. We could say the same for some other guys in that era. Garnett as well, too, in that era. Fortunately for Duncan, he had great teammates, and that organization stayed stable the whole time. And I don't know how the value over replacement player translates back then. Hopefully it does not translate terribly for Dwight Howard. I guess this is 20-year-old Dwight Howard at 54th in the league. So not quite rookie Dwight Howard because he came out of high school, but it would have been second year Dwight Howard at 15 and 12 is in a top 20 player of the year, top 50 player of the year, in the league type conversation by his second year, and then really ascends. So if we go the next season after that, Miami wins the title, and San Antonio takes down Cleveland, and LeBron makes the finals that year, of course. Best value over replacement in the league by almost 2 full points. So I know we've looked at that in the past with Jokic, like the degrees of separation for that, but I might have to go back and actually keep track of that in a better way, chat, because be curious to see as well too some of the LeBron degrees of separation in these earlier years. But you've got Dwight as 8th in the league behind Rafer Alston, so maybe not great for the case, but this is also the and you got Sean Marion. The league was good, chat. There's good players in the league all over the place. Raja Bell, Jason Kidd, Gilbert Arenas, Darren Williams, Shane Batty. There's always gonna be those role players that sneak up there in the top group of the league. So you got Vince Carter in New Jersey is 4th. Elton Brand is 4th. So that's like probably a sneaky one back in the day where you're like, oh, who's actually the better basketball player, Elton Brand or Dwight Howard? But it's like, hey, Dwight Howard's still going to the conference championship game. Like, I mean, you put Elton Brand on the Magic team, and is he able to accomplish what Dwight is able to accomplish? I don't know, chat. And again, maybe Dwight plays with a little bit better teams than Elton Brand did, but Dwight himself is just had better playoff successes than Elton Brand, and it's just his teams have won more in the regular season. Like, Dwight's just been a better basketball player than Elton Brand. You got Iggy. Like, I'd rather build a basketball team around Dwight than Iguodala, Chad. It is what it is. We saw Iguodala in kind of the best version of his role when he won a Finals MVP, and he's an awesome defensive player as well too. You get Sean Marion. Like, there's contract values, trade value stuff that you may start working in here as well too for various points in the league. Like a young, chat, but like a rookie Darren Williams, Gilbert Arenas entering the peak of his powers, Jason Kidd a little bit, starting to come out of that Nets run as well too. Or I think it was like 01, 02 is when they went back to back, or 02, 03. Those Eastern Conference years there. Or maybe it was the next one, Chad. Maybe it was 03, 04, because what they lost to. Did they lose to the Spurs twice in a row? I forget. Or did they lose to the Lakers and then the Spurs? But either way, Kidd lost to. I should know this, chat, because Tim Duncan has gotten finals wins against the Knicks, the Pistons, the Nets, the Cavs, and the Heat. So yeah, they only got the Nets that one time. So would have been Lakers and the Nets one of those years. Is that how forgettable those finals was? Because they played the Sixers, the Nets, and the Pacers. And the iconic matchups from those times would have, I guess, been the Iverson matchup, but it would have been in the Western Conference playoffs against the Kings and the Spurs as well too. I guess the Kings for like the controversial aspect of it. And the Spurs, I think there was like some sneaky divisional round matchups in there as well too. And the Kings, they took down in the conference finals. I think the Derek Fisher shot I'm thinking of was in the divisional round. That's the first one that came to mind for some reason. It's like iconic series. And then the iconic Kings-Lakers series was in the conference finals to go to the finals. So, but yeah, Dwight, of course, is also in the advanced stats as well, too. Second, or that's Dirk, Dwayne. Looking for Dwight, chat. The box score plus minus not friendly to Dwight Howard. Let's see here. 37th. I knew this stat was rigged, chat. What's he on the win shares per 48? Oh, we should probably stop looking at the advanced stats. It's not going to help our Dwight Howard case whatsoever. It's just what it is. I don't know if there's like a true shooting. PER is good for the centers. Does it help out Dwight Howard at all? Oh, no, it doesn't. It's 27th. But this is still young Dwight, chat. Pause. 21, so we need to give him a chance. We need to give him a chance to see like where the best advanced stats version of Dwight was. Iverson at 32 years old in Denver, leading the league in minutes played, chat. That's the toughness of Allen Iverson on full display. LeBron, Chris Paul, right on his heels. I mean, if it wasn't for Chris Paul, LeBron would have been 3.5 points better in value over replacement than the next player, but that's how good Chris Paul is. I was going to say, he better have been second in MVP voting that year. I thought LeBron would have been first, but no, who got MVP? Oh, Kobe MVP year, chat. Of course. The great Kobe scoring year. But, or whatever year Kobe won the MVP, I guess. But, Dwight this year, 22nd. He's going up the list, chat. See, Tim Duncan's at 10, so it's not like everybody is perfectly projected for their spots. But I just like the type of basketball player that, and I know that's like, what do you mean by type of basketball player? But the skills that Dwight Howard brought to the court, combined with the athleticism, obviously, he's just one of the more special center talents that the league has ever seen. And the fact that he is this peak version of, and I don't want to say like the non-post-up guy, because that's just like, Dwight's working with a little more offensively that I'm giving him respect for. But to stereotype him into sort of a pick and roll, rim running, lob catching type threat, again, with these star players, it's just the ultimate peak version of that, where he could almost, he could be a 20 and 10 guy, 20 and 12 and a half, 20 and 13 guy, and awesome on defense, just in that type of role. And then if he was with star players, how good would he have been? If he had somehow managed to the personality thing and, gotten with the stars at the right time of his career's pause, just who knows what the Dwight Howard impact would have ultimately been for a team. Like, I think Dwight Howard could have won a finals as a first or a second best player on a team. I don't think that that's necessarily a large stretch to say for a guy that gets a team to the finals. Like, could Jimmy Butler win the finals? Peak Jimmy Butler win the finals as a second best player on a team? Probably. Not a hot take. Get him the right star. The circumstances have to be right for anybody, Chad. So it's like, get the circumstances right for Jimmy Butler, and he can elevate his game to be that type of, could Jimmy Butler be the best player on a finals team? I think that is, I don't know if I'm necessarily locking that in, but again, I think it's a question that can be asked for how good of a player Jimmy Butler was. So, I don't know what the controversy, again, I don't know what the controversy levels are necessarily current with Mavs fans and Dwight, but I just would, I like Dwight in the 2K sense. Hey, yo, chat. I didn't know what sense we were going to say there, but in the 2K sense, Dwight Howard is a great basketball player. So, hey, I just pointed out he's in the Hall of Fame. The Magic Hall of Fame will be NBA Hall of Famer as well, too. And, the resume, I guess, again, how do you want to define the career for Hall of Fame? But 8 All-NBAs, takes a team to the finals, 5-time All-Defense, 3-time Defense Player of the Year. Like, it's a Hall of Fame. This right here is Hall of Fame stuff. And there's just no denying it. So, there's not very many guys in the league. I know there's, he didn't make All-NBA 75 or whatever, but there's not very many guys in the league with that combination of resume that also, like we're saying, ascended to that level to be the best guy on a title team. Team to make the finals. Team as in title that way. So, it's just a short list of guys that Dwight Howard is on, and it's fair to point out the basketball skills in moments when he's being recognized, Chad. So, the basketball stuff was awesome for Dwight when it was awesome, and unfortunately, there was other things at play in the basketball career, as there is with all of these guys, Chad. But again, to say that Dwight Howard didn't have an awesome career or didn't have a successful career is just not the right way to say it, because guess what? The man is now officially in the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. And I don't know if he will eventually. I just don't know if he will go. Shaq, is going to be the greatest Magic player of all time at this point. Unless it's Paolo. Paolo's the next great Magic player. Or Franz or Suggs, apparently, this year. But, shout out to Dwight Howard, man. Getting the Magic Hall of Fame thing. Cool to see a nice moment there between him and the franchise. And hopefully there can be nice long-term, feelings, chat. A good friendship between Dwight Howard and the Magic fans and all that stuff. And maybe you guys are all okay with him. But just the basketball stuff with him when it was good, it's worthy being pointed out. And the hypothetical of him with star players as well, too, is something. Is that something I fantasize about, chat? Hey, yo. But it is definitely something about, in the basketball sense, that we do like to definitely consider. So, the last thing that we wanted to mention today as well, too, chat. And, speaking of the night slate that we were talking about earlier, Sacramento, we'll see how long they can keep this close for. out firing both teams 2 for 3 right away. 8 for 8. So good start for Sacktown. Hey, yo. But Juju Watkins, unfortunately, just goes down with the ACL injury. And there's so many different storylines at play with this, Chad. Of course, the immediate impact of what it means for USC to win the title, but then also the long term of it as well, too, where she's getting injured in the season. I don't remember exactly when, because this happened to Paige Beckers as well. Paige Beckers tore her knee, and, if we're talking the long term, like what happens returning from this, like, Paige Beckers is back and play to be the number 1 overall pick. She's fine. So Juju Watkins, with any injury, obviously, hopefully a guy's going to be fine. But, she should be fine going forward if we're, hopefully projecting it out like Paige Beckers was. But in terms of, again, the immediate tournament, chat, it's not just a shifting injury in terms of what it meant for USC's chances to win the title this year. But I was trying to think of a more impactful injury in general in the tournament. And, if we're talking if I'm talking, again, in the basketball sense, chat, but if we're talking the injury itself, like Kevin Ware got injured in a tournament game, if I remember correctly. So there have maybe been more aggressive injuries in a tournament setting, to put it that way. But in terms of the level of player, and again, like, who's ever been the level of player that, Juju Watkins is on pace to be one of those special players. In the college, she's maybe the greatest college freshman of all time. I said maybe because we'd have to go back and go to the Cheryl Miller freshman numbers. I think she was All-American all 4 years, Chad, if I'm not mistaken. But Juju Watkins was the highest scoring, if I'm not mistaken. So that's definitely for the case. And I forget, are her stats even on here? Or do we have to go to, like, Wikipedia? Oh, yeah, Chad, we just have to remember to spell correctly. But as a freshman, 20 a game on 55%, chat. 55%. She was 56% for her career on 25 a game in those last couple of years, chat. I mean, she's shooting 56% is crazy for, like, a forward. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the games. I guess I'm kind of thinking NBA stuff. Like, is she more perimeter based? But I think she has got kind of an all-round game. Like, she wasn't necessarily a post-up player, right? If I'm not saying she couldn't take somebody into the post, but I don't know if that was exclusively what she was working with, where she would be getting those easier looks around the rim. But, and I mean, with the amount of stuff that you can get now from an award standpoint, obviously Juju Watkins is going to rack up all the hardware. But yeah, 27 a game last year. And the numbers have even gone up this year. But of course, the player that now is going to have to step up in a bigger role, and I don't want to butcher the last name, Kiki Irefin, the senior, who did step up in a big way when they did win and continue to advance as well, too, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember that box score correctly. But I'm trying to think if I can think of a bigger impact injury in the tournament. And I know Embiid was hurt for the tournament the year that he was at Kansas. So that would be another immediate one. Like, did Zion get hurt in the tournament? Just assuming Zion might have gotten hurt in the tournament. But in terms of an ending one as well, too, like, did he get hurt in the game? And then maybe if they had won, like, could he have come back? But, again, USC is good. Not that Duke wouldn't have been good that year without Zion. But they are a 1 seed. They still got a star player that they can potentially rely on as well, too. So, again, I can't necessarily speak to what their championship's hope would be with losing Juju Watkins. If you look at the box score, it's certainly, 2 players that definitely stand out in terms of the scoring aspect of things. So, obviously, anybody losing that type of player, it's probably going to really damage your tournament hopes. But, again, I'm saying I just don't know the depth. Or, like, the immediate, are they going to lose, like, the next game? Can they win a couple more? And then once we get to them versus UConn, is that the one where, I guess, one more, versus UConn? Is that the one where they struggle just because now they don't have their star to go up with the star in the same kind of way? Again, a shout out to Kiki Irefin as well, too. But I was just like, man, chat, I just cannot think of a more just immediate, like, better player that has gone down that we're just been like a better player that we've been robbed of due to injury, like of these tournament games. That's the thing as well, too. Like I'm saying, USC is good. Juju Watkins is playing awesome. Like, we're going to get the Paige Beck. It seemed like we were going to get the Paige Beckers Juju game. and then maybe she continues to advance. Maybe we get a Juju title, and it just becomes a really special Juju season. And then, again, like we're saying, at this point in the season as well too, you just hope it doesn't take away two March Madnesses. It's like the Jamal Murray injury, you know, if we're going NBA things, honestly. And again, she's, with all due respect to Jamal Murray, just a better player than Jamal Murray and a more impactful player for her team than Jamal Murray was for this Nuggets team, because Nuggets still had Jokic as well too. But they still have Jokic, but you know, had Jokic back then as well at the peak of his powers. But maybe a little 98% at the peak of his powers when Murray went down, maybe. But again, the way it took kind of 2 playoffs for Murray's to recover, just, you know, hopefully it doesn't cost her 2 tournaments in that type of way. And hopefully USC is able to, you know, continue their run as well too. Kind of feel now that Michigan's out in a really, really tough game against Notre Dame. But now that Michigan's out, maybe this is the team that you can gravitate toward. And maybe it would have been anyways with Juju Watkins, but now it's like, hey, the underdogs without their star. Kiki, again, with a chance to really elevate in a special way and have a moment. That could be fun. I mean, as much as we're saying, like, Juju Watkins versus Paige Beckers, maybe it's Kiki versus Paige, chat. Maybe those are the star players that emerge. Maybe it would have been that way either way. Maybe it would have been easier for her to do it with Juju Watkins on the court next to her. But regardless, shout out Juju Watkins. You know, thoughts and prayers with the recovery. Hopefully you're able to get back on the court as soon as possible, because anytime, again, you're robbed of the star, like, I mean, any player, chat, of course, but I mean, it's like arguably the best player. There's just no scenario where she's not a top 3 player. And again, like, you're gonna be like, whoa, she's not number 1 or 2. I'm just thinking, like, I can't speak accurately on the exact rankings. Like, is Lauren Betts in that mix as well too? Like, what are all the names? But yeah, it's just a tragic big picture tournament thing. And again, like the WNBA thing, I don't know how this adds to that conversation, chat, because, and you know, with all due respect to the WNBA, and I know they're making waves in this area, but if this was a player going to the NBA or like the NFL or something like that, chat, you know, the money on the table would be a little bit more than, and there would actually be like an upgrade in pay from going to the draft. And not that, you know, you're not making more money, not that you're losing deals, losing the NIL aspect of things. You know, the NIL aspect really, it gives you something, but it like puts something there that should be, it's like the deals are there already, so it just gives you access to something that you should already have access to. The pay, I guess, is not necessarily there in the same kind of way, but you know, we know what that is. And not to say that it's not, of course, money that you won't take, chat. I'm just saying in the terms of the business of things, how much is it swaying business decisions that they would be making if they were on the table? But, you know, the NIL thing is great for this part of it as well, too, where a player that, not to say that Juju Watkins would hurt her draft stock, but you think even when injuries were maybe a little less recoverable and a draft stock would have been more damaged, the idea that a player could have gotten some NIL money before it as well too, and maybe continued as well, because they'll also, like we're saying, once they leave college, can continue to get the deals. But it, like, I was going to use Juju Watkins, but we don't want to, you know, jinx Juju Watkins. But I was thinking like Marcus Dupree, for example. I don't think he got hurt. I'm trying to remember. I guess we'll just have to rewatch 30 for 30, chat. But did he get hurt in college or in the pros? I don't remember. I want to say he got hurt in college. But like, if he had NIL, like, you know, and shout out Marcus Dupree, but you know, he could have been making money, and then, you know, unfortunately, the NFL thing might not have turned out the way it would have been anyways. But at least he would have had that NIL in the bag, so that's an advantage there. But like, with the 4-year thing with Juju Watkins, anyway, it's not like it would have really hurt her draft stock with the knee injury in a major way, because she wouldn't have. Again, if she was going out this year, maybe there is like a right away Paige Beckers year 1 versus Juju Watkins year 1, but I guess if they change the rule this year anyways, then Juju Watkins, you still get a couple extra years because she gets the benefit of being able to enter the draft as a sophomore in this hypothetical world anyways. But yeah, hopefully, and just, you know, the college legacy aspect of it as well too. Like we're saying, it being later in the season, if it loses a season, then those tournaments, those potential accolades, like college ladies is stacked in terms of those resumes. Like we were looking at with that top 10 list a while back with Caitlin Clark, obviously, but, Brianna Stewart and Cheryl Miller and Tarasi and Maya Moore and all these guys. And I'm not saying Caitlin Clark specifically, Chad. It's just, the name to obviously brought up. It's just that's how, the star power that she's ascended to is like the name has just become the basic name at this point, but, or the ladies basketball name. But, to miss out on some of those things, it's just unfortunate for her, obviously, for us as fans, for everybody involved. Chad, obviously for, them more so than us, Chad. But if the 2% disappointed and missing out we can get as fans, we'll definitely highlight it, Chad. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. It is what it is. But, yeah, shout out to USC, anyways. Hopefully they're able to keep up a good fight in these next couple of games. But, yeah, Portland, like we were saying, maybe they'll keep it feisty, and they are, chat, pause, keeping it feisty. 1 point first quarter. First quarters, do they count? Do they not? Who knows? But Portland at home. Advia, Kamara, Klingon and Advia in a starting lineup, chat. I guess I don't know if they're starting. Klingon started tonight. But if Klingon's starting now with Advia and Simons and Kamara, it's like I'm saying, it's a fun team. Klingon, another guy. Hey, is it a coincidence that the team he was on in college just won back-to-back national titles? And oh, wait, I guess Castle was the highest draft pick. But I'm thinking both years of the guys that were there multiple years in that run, he is the guy that is by far the highest draft pick of those guys. So, no, would it be a coincidence if the Blazers or whatever team he was on also turned into a winning team as well, too? Guess what, chat? I have some Klingon stock. I would not be surprised whatsoever. But, I mean, hey, there was some Klingon just pair him next to Wemby type rumors at one point in the draft. But obviously Castle seems to be the right pick, and we love having Castle. And even though it didn't work out tonight, chat, we'll just wish for the better going forward. But that should just about wrap it up for tonight. We'll be back with more March Madness, chat. Friday, we got Sweet 16 action. Should we check the slate here real quick and see what we've got going on? We should have... software update. What's going on? But are they tapping in? Are they going to software update so it just applies me for the draft? What's going on here, chat? Is Apple going to send me overseas? But for Friday, we'll be back with Sweet 16. We'll be back with more college basketball. Both ways, both sides of the bracket. I guess, do we have ladies college basketball as well too that day, chat? That is the real question. Uh-oh. Friday night, live on the pod. Michigan Auburn, Janai Broom going up against his old teammate Trey Donaldson, going up against Danny Wolf, going up against Dusty May, Bruce Pearl. Chat will be live. Michigan State will be playing. We could be bummed out. We could be super happy, depending on, it could be a little bit of both, more so one way or the other, vice versa. We'll just have to see. Kentucky, Tennessee, Houston, Purdue. Again, it's all SEC and Big Ten teams, but it looks like it could be a very, very fun Sweet 16. So, yeah, tune in. Michigan, Auburn, Friday, chat. We'll be here. We'll be live. Lil Durk's dropping an album, too. It could be stacked. Oh, I'm going away early, chat. Yikes. Didn't mean to crash the entire background screen. We got to end on a Meg, chat. That can't be it. That can't be it. A sloppy way to stumble forward toward the end. We stumble across the finish line. There we go, chat. We are back, locked and loaded, and ready to go. So that will do it, like I said, for today's episode. We are on the socials, the podcast feeds. Of course, always here, hanging out on the YouTube. If there's one, you say, where's Rem? He's probably on the YouTube. Rem and Sam, or on the Instagram, or on the pod feeds. He's one of those places, chat. Sam popping by, hanging out. It's just a good time, chat. Just a good time, kicking back, watching some hoops, and we'll be back again Friday. So join us then too, chat, and we will see you guys later.